Okay, there we go. Now we are recording. Hello! Hello, GDQ. This is the third time I tried recording this. Apparently my hotkeys are not working. Hello, GDQ. My name is Kuiper Don't Care, and I am submitting Donkey Kong 64 Randomizer Season 3 settings for the upcoming event AGDQ 2025. These are the exact same settings that were recently featured on the Flame Fatales event. Bird and Ash did that run, and it was very, very cool. I'm hoping that we could potentially get some more Donk 64 exposure here at the GDQ. A little bit about myself. I've been playing this randomizer for basically since like 1.0. It's been going on a couple years now. I've been featured on 5 separate episodes of GDQ Hotfix shows playing this game, a variety of settings. Believe it or not, I actually have never played these specific settings on a GDQ Hotfix show. These are the competitive settings. These are Season 3 settings. These are the current settings that we're using for our tournament that's taking place right now at the moment of this recording. And with me, I'm not alone this time. With me, I'm joined by who would be, if this were to be accepted, my couch commentators. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, I'm Spike Vegeta, and I've also been playing this basically since 1.0 days, and I would be very excited to get to do commentary for Kuiper. I think DK64 Randomizer, just my little spiel on it, I think it's one of the best randomizers out there. It's shockingly a ton of fun, fighting all the moves and everything, how that unlocks other item locations all throughout the game. It's a ton of fun, and the community has put so much work into it, including people like my co-commentator, Larock.
Hello, I am Larock. I would be so stoked to be on a GDQ catch. I've not been to a GDQ. I'd be super excited. I am I'm on the dev team for DK64Randomizer.com. I've been working on this since, well, really the 1.0 days. Started working on 1.5 and then 2.0 full item rando. It's been a whole ride to get to this point. It is truly the peak of all randomizers, believe it or not.
Yeah, Larock is, again, on the dev team. He's the hints guy. He's the hints/settings guy. Between the three of us, we know enough about this to where, we could obviously answer any questions. All of us, between the three of us, all the seeds I've played, the seed Spikes has played, and of course Larock being on the dev team, there's nothing we haven't seen. There's nothing we probably couldn't answer question-wise. As far as what our objective is in this randomizer, and then we'll jump right into it. We won't spend too much more time talking. We have a bunch of time that we're going to be able to discuss sort of the nuances of this randomizer and this seed in particular. Is our goal is to beat the game. Our goal is to beat King K. Rool. In order to do that, we need to obtain all of the moves that are required for whatever the randomized boss phases are. So this tracker that you see on screen is not the tracker that they used on GDQ for Flame Fatales. This is my own personal tracker. This would not be what we use for the event. It's a lot more simpler, the one we used for Flame Fatales. But basically the idea is whatever phases of K. Rool, it's randomly selected between the 5 Kongs. We need whatever moves that phase entails. If Diddy is part of our final fights, we need Rocket Barrel and Peanuts. We actually have Peanuts already, which is pretty nice. If it's Tiny, we're going to need Feather Bow and Mini Monkey. If it's, Donkey, we're going to need Baboon Blast. It goes on, so on and so forth. So those are the moves that we need. And of course, whatever moves lock those moves. We won't know that until we start. And then we also need the missing keys. The keys are actually, they serve 2 purposes. We need all of them in order to unlock the final fight. The ship crashes, you jump in, and you start fighting K. Rool. But each one of those selective keys that we are missing has an ancillary purpose. Key 2 unlocks lobbies 3 and 4, 4 locks lobby 5, 5 locks 6 and 7, 6 and 7 lock 8, all of that stuff. We'll get more into the particulars of that when we get into the seed, because some of these keys could be very easy to find, some of them could be quite difficult to find. But we have a lot of stuff we can discuss. Again, this seed was vetted by Larock, so he knows what I am in store for. I don't, Spike doesn't, nobody else does. And obviously he's not going to give me, he's not going to tip me off to anything like that. That would be very...
Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely. There would be no way he would ever do that. So we will get started here in 3, 2, 1, go. So the first thing that you're going to see me do is these opening first couple checks that you're going to see are sort of you're kind of like your opening routing, your opening checks. there's going to be at least a minimum of 5, potentially more, depending upon what we find, checks that I'm going to get immediately at the start of every seed. They're always the same. The first one is this dirt patch. Dirt patches normally are rainbow coins. In our case, it was a golden banana. The next one we're gonna go get, we're actually going to peek something and then get another check. We're gonna come over here, peek this featherbow cage, see that it's a banana medal, so probably not gonna need that, but who knows. And then we're gonna come over here to this small island and you'll see what is normally a fairy, if it did spawn. Oh, it didn't spawn. Okay, so that means it was nothing. That basically just means that fairy rolled nothing, that seed. The next check is going to be up here. We're going to warp to 2. There's going to be another dirt patch and another cage we can look at. Basically, this is your opening route for the majority of settings. Now, whatever order you want to do these in is player preference. I usually like to, oh, there's a fairy. Player preference, I kind of like this ordering of the checks. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to go back into the training grounds. We're going to get one more dirt patch. We're going to check the shop that's back here, the Cranky shop. And then finally, we are going to check what the opening, I guess, free item is. Normally, it's like the first golden banana you get in the vanilla game. That's outside of the Japes lobby. That will be the last check that we get. And then we're going to be heading into level 1. So again, you could do any of these checks in any given order, whatever your preference is. I like to do it in this order. I always like to end with the shop. For that reason right there, we get a rainbow coin there, because now if there's something here I can buy with Diddy or Tiny, I could potentially do that.
Rainbow coins are really, really powerful early on in the game, because even the Kongs you don't have, Donkey, Lanky, Chunky, in this instance, all of them have 5 coins as well,
Correct.
As soon as you obtain them.
Correct, yes. So
Now, it's worth noting all these checks that are, done in this initial loop, they're all this way because the level order is random. We do not know what level we are about to walk into. What is level 1 going to be?
I have no idea, and it is Forest. So the first level is Fungi Forest, which is normally level 5, but that is our level 1. Yeah, so what you saw is, so that shop, that trolled me a little bit. I couldn't quite afford whatever move Cranky had in there. I needed 2 more coins, but luckily Fungi Forest is pretty good with coin routing, at least with these Kongs. We'll see if we can find enough coins here to potentially go back there. And maybe I'll just wait to buy that, who knows?
Pretty spread out level, but one of the great things about DK64 is you can just kind of like walk places and you'll pick stuff up and you make progression. It's truly incredible. This game is so outrageously dense that no matter where you go, you just find stuff to do.
Right. This game's all about picking stuff up. That's generally, you do mostly that in this game.
Collectathon? Picking things up?
A little bit of a collectathon. Real quick, Spike, do you want to explain why I'm able to just swap back and forth from Kongs without jumping into a tag barrel? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people that perhaps only know this game from the vanilla standpoint, and they're like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah, it is actually a quality of life that predates the randomizer existing by many years.
Yes.
I feel like it was something brought up. Ooh, nice little vial right there for Diddy. Let's pause real quick to see what this might be.
It is Pete. Ooh, that's a really nice move to find early.
Ooh, ponytail twirl.
That's very nice.
It's honestly a more powerful move casually, as it just allows you a hover with Tiny. That can lock a handful of checks throughout the game, but it's also just a nice quality of life movement. Can make some movements a little bit easier. But yeah, the tag anywhere was just an idea I feel like people probably came up with, honestly, back in 1999. Like, yeah, this game's fun, cool collectathon. It was kind of iconic, the biggest collectathon of all time and whatnot. But man, it sucks having to go to tag barrels every time I want to swap between these 5 Kongs. Now, simply by tapping left or right on the D-pad, like you see up there in the little display in the top right corner, if you press left or right, it'll turn into Diddy, and as you gain other Kongs, that will indicate other Kongs in that order as well. And it can allow for not just the quality of life of, I don't have to go to a tag barrel, it can also allow for different pieces of tech throughout the run.
Yes.
That we'll kind of get into as we gain the other Kongs.
Yeah, there is a surprising amount of just very cool movement tech that we can do because we're able to do that. So, obviously, the 2 Kongs we have right now are Diddy and Tiny, and one of the really interesting things about this game is every Kong kind of has like, this is not the correct way to word it, but I almost kind of treat it as like they have like passives, if that makes sense. Diddy and Tiny can jump very, very high. Diddy can technically jump the highest, I think by like a couple pixels. And Tiny can also jump very, very high as well. One of the benefits...
The technical term is they're built different.
Yeah, the technical term is yes, they are built different for sure. But yeah, one of the cool things about that is because we can swap in midair, I'll show you right here. We'll actually just swap, just as like an example, I'll swap to Tiny midair. So because I'm able to do that, if I get a Kong with, say, really long arms, or I get a Kong that can pick up boulders with relative ease, their grab hitboxes are much higher up than the other Kong's hitboxes are, as far as where they can grab things. So we are actually able to circumvent, in certain spots, the need for certain moves. A lot of the time, you'll see things like Simian Spring, Baboon Balloon, things like that. We can get checks that are logically locked behind those moves without ever obtaining them because we can jump high and swap in midair. Now, the game is still going to try to give us those moves, and once I pull up my hints menu, you'll see what I'm talking about there. And then since we do have the dev here that is, he's the hints guy, he's the guy that like, is kind of in charge of all that stuff, I will let him, I might just let him take the reins on that one. So we're gonna jump down here, knock out this Kasplat, and ooh, we got, wow, okay. So we already have two of our guns. Now we do not know what our K Rool phases are yet. Again, those will be kind of that information will be. I've been having a difficulty shooting balloons with the feather bow all day today. I did a seed prior to this one, and I was having a lot of difficulty hitting balloons. But we don't know what our K Rool phases are yet. They will be divulged to us when we get into our hints. But if we do see a Tiny and or a Diddy phase, we already have two of the moves that we need for that. So that's pretty nice. Again, we're just gonna want to keep track of where we find all of those things. And I'm gonna just grab a couple more colored bananas here. And then we're gonna drop down here. We're gonna check this battle pad, and then when I get out of the battle pad, I will be pausing. Oh, I'm gonna fall for it. There is no battle pad. I almost fell for it.
Yep, doesn't exist. Not
battle
real.
pads are not a thing in these settings.
Season 3.
All right. While I'm reading these hints, Larock, take the reins, my friend. What type
So
of...
there's a lot to unpack with the hints here. There's multiple different types of hints, and we're gonna kind of glaze over a little bit of them, give you a quick overview of what's going on here.
Yes.
The big ones, we got Kong hints. We got two Kong hints here. We now have a hint on where Lanky is and where Chunky is. Chunky's held by a fairy in forest. We're gonna have to figure out which fairy that is. There's two possible fairies. Neither are logically accessible at the moment, but we may find a way. Lanky can be found by Diddy in caves. We'll have to also find a way to figure that one out, as we do not know where caves is, nor do we know what is required for Diddy. Kong placement is a little tricky. We'll get the Kong placement in a minute. All these something in the areas on the path, these are the grand multi-path hints. They all happen to be single path hints because they only point to one goal, but rest assured, if they could point to multiple, they would. So we've got hints like something in the Galleon Medal rewards is on the path to Key 5. There is an item that you will get from Galleon Medal rewards that will lead you to Key 5. It may be Key 5 itself. It might be a coconut shooter that unlocks Key 5. Something on the path to. We've got multiple hints for Key 4. We're going to have to untangle the path to Key 4 somehow. Multiple things are required. So maybe the Cave Shop item is first, and then that gets us to something in the Japes Forest lobbies for our next hint.
Yes. A lot of stuff. So I know, and Spike has talked about this. Obviously, Spike has played a variety of randomizers, myself as well. When you talk about any given rando, whether it's a Zelda game, a Mario game, a Final Fantasy, or Kingdom Hearts, there's always, what is the game of it? What is the goal, I guess you could say? Because all randos play very differently. I like to kind of think of Zelda randomizers as more of like turning what is normally a very linear action-adventure game into more of like a Metroidvania, right? Zelda randos turn into all of these areas that I'm trying to get to are locked behind items that I don't have yet, right? Kingdom Hearts randomizer, for example, it kind of builds itself on, okay, your tool set, your builds. How comfortable are you in doing all of these really, really difficult fights, these different segments, things like that with minimal amount of abilities. DK64 rando, and I will not take credit for this. This was completely 100%. I heard Spike say this before. Also, Mini Monkey's really, really nice there. DK64 rando is a detective game. We are basically monkey detectives. We are given a series of clues, a series of little tidbits of information, and we sort of have to piece together through that information, whether it be positive information or negative information. And that is another big thing that this randomizer has. We actually have negative information when it comes to where
the randomizer actually turns it. I think of this as a Metroidvania. It turns it into a Metroidvania. Each of these levels is like a huge Zelda dungeon with so many locks and keys. Peanuts just got us past that door.
Correct.
So we have to think about Peanuts inside here. Like, okay, so Peanuts got us in here with Diddy. What can we do with that?
Right.
And this is maybe on the cusp of getting lost in the weeds. But within that, again, there's information and there's negative information, like Kuiper just said. You are not, like, the logic or whatever of the randomizer does not take into account that we can tag anywhere.
Yes.
So by the logic of the randomizer, Diddy can come in here, and Tiny can't. So this is actually a bad example. But let's say you had Chunky. Chunky without Pineapple can't get in here.
Correct.
There's not a tag barrel in here. So you got to think about that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that you're probably noticing, again, if you are a fan of this game, if you played this game as a kid, that door that you just saw me walk through, that is normally not open. Normally, you need guitar to open that. One of the things that was changed in these particular race settings were the ability to kind of open up some of these areas that were closed behind certain moves. And certain ones have been opened, certain ones have been closed, and sort of the difference between what settings you play most of the time is which one of these gates, which one of these sort of big sort of choke points are already available to you. You'll see another one if we ever end up going into Galleon. There are two gates in Galleon. One of them locks the lighthouse area. The other one locks the shipyard area. In some settings, you will have a situation where the shipyard is open and the lighthouse isn't. In some settings, you'll have the opposite. It really just kind of comes down to what type of game you're trying to turn your settings into. I have particular settings that I've come up with that I play all the time, which are known as they're called Kevin settings. We don't gotta talk about whether.
Don't ask.
Don't
It's
ask.
fine.
It's a thing. No.
In 3 years, when this is back in, we'll talk about Kevin.
Right. We can talk about Kevin then. But basically, the idea is those settings are my sort of personal settings that I prefer to play with. And in those settings, almost all of these doors are open. Very, very few things are locked away to you. And but in these, you'll see a couple of them that I am not going to be able to, kind of like to Laroc's point, I'm not going to be able to access a lot of these areas until I find sort of I didn't want to go into that barrel. Until I find the key, the secret move, the thing I need. Now, we do know that this crate is required. Okay.
One of the hints that we got was that location, that
Yes.
crate by the Gong Tower, is Way of the Horde. Those of you
Ooh, okay.
Zelda randomizer enjoyers,
Ooh, wow.
they sound familiar.
Okay.
That might be, you might have heard of Way of the Hero. It is the same thing. Way of the Horde means that item is required to beat the seed,
Mhm.
and wouldn't you know it, we need Gorilla Gon to get into Hideout Helm, and we know
Yes.
P8 is within Hideout Helm.
Correct. Yeah, so...
And it very well might just mean that. Go ahead, Kuiper.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, exactly. The simplest answer for that is, in these settings specifically, Season 3 settings, you need Gorilla Gon every seed. You will always need it because it is one of the moves that is needed for Helm. Key 8, which is in the vanilla game normally at the top of Helm, is one of the few things that is not randomized. That is just a stable thing. You will always have to go through the top of Helm to get up there and to get Key 8. It is effectively like sort of the penultimate level in the game. We won't have to do all of Helm, thank goodness, because that can get a little slow and a little monotonous. But in the meantime, like I said, I'm just kind of doing some of these quick Aztec checks. Having access to Aztec this early with a move that gives you logical access into Aztec is normally pretty rare. But we ended up getting PTT, and if you noticed when I entered the level, I hovered over that like quicksand trap. the logic of this randomizer does not expect you to be able to just damage boost across things. In order to enter this level at all, you need one of two things. You either need Vine Swinging, which is a basic ability, it's one of the training moves in the game, or you need Tiny, and specifically PTT, because she can hover over the gap. So, if this was, you know, like Spike kind of mentioned earlier, if instead of having Tiny, I had like Chunky, I would have no logical way to get into this level. I could just like damage boost across the sand, but then
it's a pretty minor niche bit of logic that a lot of the time doesn't happen. But there's a lot of depth to the logic. Knowing little tricks like that can make a difference sometimes.
Right.
There's so a staggering amount of depth. If only in just the number of locations, something like 400 something locations in season 3 across the whole game. Just tons, tons and tons and tons.
Another.
And some people might be thinking to themselves, "Oh, no fair. There are no fairies this season. They're all gone."
Yeah, all the fairies are gone.
And some people might say, like, "Oh, well, does that in some ways trivialize the randomizer?"
No.
I love when there are tricks where you can circumvent actually needing moves or tools to get them, because you still have to understand, okay, the game expected me to have this at this point, so I have to keep that in mind. If like maybe I find it later and I can eliminate other checks that I potentially have to do. Very, very cool.
Oh, The Rock, you're funny.
There you go.
You're funny.
There you go, Chief.
You're funny.
There you go, Chief. We gotta require the
You're
boss.
funny. You're a funny guy. Ooh, funny.
Key 2 is one of the first things we need for progression, because Key 2 locks levels 3 and 4. We've kind of run through levels 1 and 2 so far. We need Key 2 to move on at this point. And Key 2, it's on a boss. Have fun. Pick a boss. Any boss.
I'm gonna pick him up.
Pick from.
I'm gonna pick the level 1 boss. We'll go there first, and then if it's not there, then we'll go back. So all of this information that I am being fed through all of these hints, this is to say that it's like the bread and butter of this rando, it would probably be underselling it. The hint system in this randomizer is the thing that you have to get used to, and you have to sort of master it in order to really sort of drive your times down if you want to try to get into the competitive scene, if you want to get a lot faster. If you're just kind of a fan of this game and you want to play it in a really fun way and you want to just goof around, and that's a nice thing to find. And you just want to like play through Donkey Kong 64 in a fun, unique way, you could just kind of ignore them. But if you really want to get sweaty about it and you want to get competitive about it, they are some of the more difficult things to kind of wrap your mind around when you first start.
Oh, yeah.
We are lured in by the prospect of funny monkey game roaming around, but
I wanted to get those.
we stay because of the hints. The hints keep us coming back, and it makes every scene
Correct.
so wild and crazy and unique.
It's very true. I just wanted to get those couple bananas because I want to be able to.
No other reason.
I wanted to just, listen. I may have forgotten that door was closed. It's okay. I was gonna try to do a little cheatsy doodle. It's okay though. I couldn't do it. So yeah, we just got another unhinted thing there. So speaking of hints and hinted moves and all that other stuff, another thing to really kind of keep track of is unhinted stuff. Things that have not been expressly told to you that you're gonna need them. And the reason you want to keep track of those things is just because you might need them.
There you go.
Ooh, that is probably Key 2. Now, what's funny is it might not be. Because of another thing I read earlier. Are we fighting Mad Jack? We are not fighting Mad Jack. Okay, so we are fighting a boss that is Puff Toss. Puff Toss is normally the boss of Galleon. You'll notice we're not in Galleon and we're fighting Puff Toss. Just randomizer stuff. This is also the boss that I am notorious for kind of being bad at.
You got 2 melons, you're fine.
I have 2 melons. I should be fine.
This is also like prime time for donations. This is a relatively straightforward, laid out fight.
Correct. Yes.
Just hanging out.
This would be our first really good time for donations. The boss fights, while they have been sped up in the rando, you'll notice I am not doing nearly. If I could hit this star, that would be great. I'm not going to be doing nearly as much of the boss as you normally would. In fact, I'm only going to have to complete this little, you call it like puzzle where you drive through all of the stuff. I'm only going to have to do this 3 times, whereas in the normal fight, I think you have to do it 5 times.
5 times.
3 phases to fuck down from 5.
Other than Armadillo 1 and Dogadon 1, the first 2 bosses of the game, every other boss fight, including all 5 phases of K. Rool, got severely cut down, and it very much is good for the randomizer and having to do these over and over again. Especially the tiny phase of K. Rool, my god. We may or may not see that later today, we'll have to see. But I think this is also a good time where, like, I probably would have by this point explained a little bit about kind of what the value of all the different items you pick up on. At the end of the day, the biggest items we want to find are all of the keys.
Yes.
We need all 8 keys, and we're always going to start with keys 1 and 3 because that slightly opens up your options a little bit. We're about to have key 2, we're assuming right here.
It's key 2, yeah, it's key 2.
It's key 2. And getting key 2, the reason why the keys are important is because if you haven't played DK64 before, it unlocks different parts of the game, including now both lobbies 3 and 4. We can now go to levels 3 and 4. So
right up here.
let's go find out what's in there.
Right up
See
here.
what we can get into level 3.
Level 3 is Galleon. Okay, so normally level 4. Here we are in level 3 Galleon. And as
Next on
far
our docket of important items, besides the keys, are Kongs. We currently only have 2 Kongs, and we are looking for more Kongs.
that is true.
The fill is a little bit particular about how it places Kongs. It makes very careful to ensure that you will get Kongs at a reasonable pace. Our 3rd Kong must be in or before level 3. So whoever our 3rd Kong is, we don't know which one, 2 of them are hinted, has to be available with moves in or found in or before level 3. Our 4th Kong has to be found with moves in or before level 4, and our 5th Kong has to be found with moves in or before level 5. So at the latest, we know that. So we know Forest is level 1, and that's got 1 Kong hinted, and Caves is level, we don't know, but it's got a Kong hinted, so it can be at most level 5.
Right. And all of those sort of like thresholds are placed just to kind of make it a little easier to deduce how deep all of those really, really hard required things are going to be. Again, the 2 biggest things we need are keys and Kongs, and having some sort of consistent, I don't want to call it like a gate, but just sort of like sort of a consistent way of knowing this is about as deep as they could possibly be. Just makes it a little easier to find all of them. So you'll notice, again, as I was mentioning earlier, some of these gates that are open already. This gate, which is normally locked behind Coconut, is just open. I'm able to just come over here and check out one of my buddies. This guy over here was the inspiration behind the naming of Kevin. We again
Say hi, Kevin.
Yeah, everyone say hi to Kevin. That's Kevin. Everyone say hi to Kevin. Again,
I'm on the couch waving.
Yeah. Just imagine we're all waving.
Brought me in.
I didn't put my hands up. Just imagine we're all waving. There might also be some emotes popping up on the screen above me. You can
Long story on that one.
Yeah, that was a long night that we all had playing some DK64.
I believe Larock, frame 1 after the race was over, went and changed something in the logic that was incorrect about how it worked. It was hilarious. It was great. By the way, just shouts to the DK64 randomized community. If you want to get into this, it's incredibly fun, and it's an amazing community. Everyone here has so much fun. The dev team's always thinking of new stuff, new settings to add to the randomizer. Who knows? Watching the submission video, by the time we do this, maybe there'll be some little different wrinkles we throw into it. Who knows?
True.
Because they're always making stuff.
One such very fun wrinkle that is a little bit kind of in the vanilla game, kind of not, is the fact that Kuiper does not have diving, so he cannot swim underwater. He is stuck to twirling over the surface as his fastest form of movement. The training moves are shuffled into the game: diving, oranges, barrel throwing, and vines, and some of those are very important.
Yes.
So on the lookout for those moves. Those are also very high-value moves to be found.
Diving, kind of by far the most. As you can imagine, a level like this, Gangplank Galleon, without diving, there's a lot you can't do. Now, another thing I want to get into, again, going back to those, what are each of these collectibles, meaning golden bananas.
Yes.
Golden bananas are very valuable from two standpoints. One, you need, I believe, 64 of them in order to beat the seed at all.
Correct.
That is, in order to get into level 8, Hideout Helm, that will always be 64. That is a known set amount. So throughout the run, yes, we're trying to get our keys, we're trying to get our Kongs, we're trying to find the moves we may need to progress through the seed, but we also need a certain amount of potassium. So you got Kuiper here who's already collected like 12 or so right now. He's gonna have to collect 64 by the end, which are also collected by the various blueprints that can be found and picked up throughout the run as well. 13 right there. But also, and again, this is so many cool hint systems found out. I believe we already just talked about this. But as you collect golden bananas, they are golden knowledge at the same time. At different thresholds of those, that will give you different sets of hints that you can pause and look and try to deduce where all your keys are, and particularly where your moves are that you will need for K. Rool. Now, to go over a little bit about those hints as we're moving along, buying stuff. Oh, maybe we're going to get a move right here. And I'll hand it off to Larock to kind of explain a little bit more about the paths, Monkey Port. Man, do we have we all have almost every tiny move.
So far we haven't seen too much action on the paths so far. We've got a lot of stuff. We have a lot of hints available, and we have a lot of regions we want to start looking at. All of the hints kind of start... Oh, a lot of the hints, or the path hints will point you at regions. Regions are critical. You gotta kind of know your regions throughout this game, and they're all somewhat arbitrarily defined, but they're general geographic locations that you can kind of think of as a cohesive whole, usually. Like Krem Isle, the whole of Krem Isle, that whole structure, including the prison, that's a region. The Hive Tunnel area, the tunnel in Jungle Japes that leads to the Shell Hive, that's a region. And when you know it, the Japes Tiny Stump has one potion, and it's the stump is Way of the Horde.
I know, so right?
It's kind of funny.
So, and we still don't have a single K. Rool path hint, which is very, very interesting.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
that's a little bit late, but
yeah, we're getting we're into batch 8, and for all that you know, the thing at the top it says batch 5. Sorry, not batch 8. We're batch 5. There are 10, I guess, sets of hints that you will get at various thresholds. We now know where all of our Kongs are, which is nice. Dirt patch.
Now, it's worth noting that it may not get a lot of hints because we currently have the moves we need for 2 different phases.
Correct.
Like, we have everything we need for Tiny Phase right now, and we have everything we need for DK Phase. If those are 2 of the phases, then we're probably just not going to get a lot of hints for them, which is all well and good.
Now, will we actually see something randomized onto a fairy? Okay, clearly we will. All right.
This is one of our hinted regions, the Japes through Forest Lobbies.
Oh my gosh.
This item could be on the path to Key 4. This is something we have to keep in mind. Until we find Key 4, we won't know for sure, but we're going to want to be using this move, whatever this move happens to be. The move that is on this ferry, Saxophone Slam, could be on the path to Key 4. We got to keep it in mind.
That's a Monopoly.
That is a Monopoly early on, yes.
When we say Monopoly, that means one Kong has all 5 of their moves. Both their gun, their instrument, and all 3 of their special cranky moves. So Tiny basically has access to almost all of her checks in the game. And that's why the other Kongs are so important. Everything is very evenly distributed.
Yes.
Everywhere you go, each level you go into, every Kong has access to 4 golden bananas and their own banana medal. Where in these settings, if we collect 45 small bananas for them, that is also a check. So Kuiper has to keep track as he goes through these. All right, as I go into these levels, the Kongs I have, am I able to get 45 small bananas with them, or is it locked behind other moves? Tiny can do most everything. Ooh, a little bit of diggity diving.
That is
a little bit of a plot twist.
That's interesting. Okay, so what that means is, so I read that hint earlier that said that Donkey was in a dirt patch. So also, LOL this hitbox. There we go. So there are 2 dirt patches in this level. The one is the one you just saw me do. And it ended up having diving, which is great. We want diving, but it didn't give me Donkey. Now there is another dirt patch in this level and it is locked in the apple area, kind of where the worm / beanstalk is. But that requires me to have Chunky, because there is a gate that I have to open that requires Pineapple to open it. So while there are kind of what Spike was saying earlier, while there are a lot, like now that I have every tiny move, there's very little I can do, very little I can't do for Tiny. This game really tried to include a lot of stuff that required multiple Kongs. And that area of this level, which is Fungi Forest, it requires both of them. So in order for me to get Donkey, I need to go find Chunky. Chunky is locked by Tiny in this level. So I'm imagining that we are about to have another very popular community meme.
You sure about that, Chief?
Pay out in my favor, potentially, maybe?
Chunky is on a ferry.
Oh, Chunky's on a ferry. That's right. It's not a time. I wrote it down incorrectly. You're right. It's on a ferry. So that probably means. Oh, I know what that means, actually.
Did your just so you know, your stream might have froze?
Oh, did the Discord stream freeze?
No, we see you on Discord on your stream. Yeah,
Nice, fine,
okay. Oh, okay, it might just be my internet, my bad.
Okay, I was gonna say, uh-oh. All right, so him being on a ferry is problematic because that means he has to be on this ferry right here. And
well,
I'm gonna do a little bit of a cheaty thing in order to get him.
yeah.
Call this place the Dark Rafters. You want to know why? It's dark.
That's why. It's dark. So I'm going to do a cool little... Okay, I need to... So what I'm trying to do here, I need to navigate this room in the dark. Because as you see, it wants me to have a guitar, but I don't have a guitar. So in order to do this... I need to grab onto a... I need to grab onto a plank. That is like right, like as far as you can long jump. That is where it is. And I'm jumping over it. So I need to, right when Diddy kind of drops down off that plank is what I need to long jump. That time I was short. All right, we'll try this a couple more times. Otherwise, then I could just PTT across. Okay, I think I'm jumping too far over it. So what we're gonna do instead is we're going to use another thing you can do in this game, which is use peanuts to, make little patches of light appear.
So call them pop guns, but they're actually flashlights.
That's true. Land on the thing. Okay, we landed on the thing. Now I want to walk up. Oh, I am very close to the top of this platform. Okay, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna get to the top of this platform. We're gonna swap to Tiny again. We're gonna... I had the gun out still. No, I had Featherbow out. All right, we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this. We're gonna.
This is actually a very convenient set of moves to have to do this out of logic. We've got Peanut Pop Gun and we have got Ponytail Twirl.
I want to do this. I really, really want to do this. So you're probably wondering why. I mean, you're doing this for a watermelon. That sounds a little foolish, right? So the fairy is in this room. The trigger for the fairy to spawn is I have to grab that check, whatever it is. Normally this is like a GB. But because it's randomized, again, you know, we're playing DK64 randomizer, it is not, it's a melon. But the game doesn't care. The game still wants you to get whatever that is in order to get the fairy to spawn. Okay, so now that I put the gun away, there we go. Let's PTT over. I grabbed the melon. Now we need to look back. And I think it spawned. I think you have to die for it to spawn, or will it? Or will
you just jump off of there?
Yeah, that's right. I was gonna say, yeah, you have to die to get it to spawn. So then now,
this is weird stuff sometimes.
Yeah, now the fairy will be here, and we have Chunky. All right, that took a lot longer than I wanted to, but that's okay. We got to show off a cool thing. So
we're
if I was doing it, I would have been there for 2 hours. That's so hard to do.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one for sure. But you had the tools to make it work. Hold on.
Yeah, we tried it. We tried to make it work.
we are now out of logic for guitar for Chunky.
Yes.
We don't know where it is.
I'm trying to.
But we know. Yeah, go ahead. You're gonna say it.
We know that we will need guitar somewhere, so we're gonna keep an eye out for it. It's available. It's available somewhere relatively early. Keep it under advisement. Keep a watch out for it.
Yeah. With what we know, without a doubt, Chunky had to be the third Kong, because Chunky is locking Donkey, and it looks like Lanky very potentially is our fourth Kong right here. In order to get Donkey Kong, we're going to need Pineapple Launcher, Chunky's gun. That will allow us to get over to the Apple area.
Another great use for GBs. Entering levels. That caves was 16, and we are too short at the moment.
Yeah, I guess it's three-pronged what you need for it.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of use out of those GBs, tell you what.
Yeah, that's actually just like the vanilla thing that they do, which is open levels, you know?
You want to go snag the Helm order from Snide? That's a little hint there.
Oh yeah, I could do that. Yeah, we could show that off here. I'm gonna do this first, and then I'll drop down and get it. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool, cute little bonus hints that have been put into the game. One of them is what your Helm order is, and the way you figure that out is you can either, that's guitar, isn't it? Of course it is! Of course it is!
Yeah, that's funny.
Of course it is!
That had to be available early in order to give us Chunky. So within the first 3 levels or on aisles. And there it is.
There it is. I did all that cool stuff for all you wonderful people at GDQ for no reason. It's okay.
That was better, though.
I looked so much cooler doing it. You're right.
Yep.
But yeah, so Snide is going to tell me what my Helm order is right here. So it is Diddy Donkey. So in order to get Key 8, at minimum, I'm going to need Rocket Barrel, Guitar, which we have, and Bongos, which I don't have. So once again, another thing that we're going to have to keep an eye out for.
We have some more things to think about as well.
Yes.
We had the Creme Aisle was hinted, if you recall from our hints.
Right.
And we just got guitar from there. And we know we need guitar for Key 8, but that item in the Creme Aisle is also on the path to Key 6. It's possible that guitar leads us to Key 6. So guitar checks are now kind of elevated in our mind.
Correct.
On top of that, there's a second hint to Key 6 in the Castle Underground. You may be sensing, some of you may be sensing a problem. There are no guitar checks in the Castle Underground.
Yeah.
So how does that tie in? There must be a missing link in this path here. How do we solve this?
Again, that it just goes into that whole, like, you are kind of like a monkey detective. That's kind of like what your role is in this game. Also, Chunky looks normal, right?
Yeah. This checks out.
Yeah, this looks totally fine, right? There's nothing weird about how Chunky looks. This is totally how he looks in the normal game.
Is he a little extra shiny?
I mean, he might have like gotten waxed a little bit. Like he was really excited to be on, you know, for a GDQ submission thing. He might have, you know, did his hair a little bit. You know, Chunky wants his shot at fame. You know what I mean? Chunky wants to be up on the main stage just as much as everybody else does.
Shout out Chunky.
Shout out Chunky.
So now going after this triangle check right here.
And that's because
we. Oh wait, no, we did not get this. Gorilla Gawn's what we got as a way of the hero. That's right. I was gonna give wrong commentary, but I got myself on.
That's okay because I say the wrong thing all the time when it comes to what we need to beat certain things in this game.
It's hard, dude.
I mean, The Rock mentioned it. There are what? Close to 400 checks in this rando with the current settings.
450 or something.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I will have an actual number on that one day.
One day we will have it. So you're probably wondering, well, why are you getting this blueprint if it's not going to be a GB? Well, I have 2 options. I want 16 GBs so that I can get into level 4. But also, even if I find another GB, these blueprints serve 2 purposes. 1, they give us GBs, like normal. And 2, they also increase our Helm timer. So even though I only have to beat 2 rooms in Helm, I still have to get through 4 mini-games. And depending upon what those mini-games are, if they're really difficult, if I death cycle to them, whatever the case may be, I might want some extra time. So it's always kind of worth getting at least a couple blueprints and dumping them off to Snide, just to give yourself a little bit more comfort as far as, because we have to go through Helm. We don't have a choice.
Yeah, and that's because key 8 is vanilla always on these settings. Key 8, one of the keys we need, will always be at the very end of Helm. So you always have to kind of factor that in. From there, all the other keys, there is logic to how deep they can each be, but they can be anywhere else in the world, theoretically, of which we still need to find keys 4, 5, 6, and 7, which we're trying to determine where those roughly might be with our hint systems.
Right. And as far as I'm looking at my hints right now, I have at least one hint, for every single key. So I'm not short on information right now. What I'm short on right now is access. I just don't have access to a lot of places currently. I am going to be heading back over to level 4 now that I have 16 GBs to get in there. But again, this would be a really good time as I'm just kind of cleaning up. We could do some donations here. I'm gonna grab these tiny coins. Let me see how many tiny.
You might make a pit stop somewhere if I may make a suggestion. We did see a potion earlier.
We did see a potion earlier, didn't we?
That you were too broke to buy.
That's right. That is true. You know,
that do be true.
I had it written down, but for some reason I was like, we'll get over there eventually. No, you are correct though. No, this is the.
I like to say knowledge is power in this game. If you have seen something, it is almost as good as picking it up.
Right.
You know, if you remember to go back for it. But
it is the easiest thing to forget about in this randomizer. Everyone says their different stuff they might end up forgetting. There it is. Barrel throw, another one of our very crucial, usually, training moves that you normally start the game with. You don't even think about it. Now being able to pick up stuff like barrels and boulders and other things, very detrimental to progressing the seed. But yeah, the biggest thing that is easy to forget, I find, is shop items that you could not buy the first time you were there. So that was one of 2 I've taken note of. I know there's also one locked behind Donkey Kong being able to purchase it back in Aztec. I will just try to remember that as we go through the run. But yeah, there's barrel throwing. That's a good thing.
It is a pretty good thing to find. Barrel throwing is one of those moves that when you're first learning this randomizer, it's really shocking to find out, like, man, there's a lot of stuff in this game that's locked behind barrel throwing.
Barrel throwing is a little bit of it's a little too specific for what it is. Barrel throwing, the ability is specifically picking up anything. Chunky picking up boulders, this is barrel throwing. This will catch you off guard sometimes. You walk into a boulder and you start punching it and you're like, hang on. Chunky, pick it up. I saw you do this in the DK rap. Come on. Chunky, what are you doing?
Yeah. Okay. Apparently it is not with relative ease, you know. I always thought the song says, "Oh baby." Okay.
2 potions.
You got 2 potions.
Ooh, the double potion.
Gonna run down a cranky, grab an elixir before you get some barrel throwing action.
So that is an unhinted thing.
Oh, is it?
No, it's cave shops. You're right. Well, I don't know what this other item's going to be, but I know that and something else could potentially be on the path to key 4.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the important thing to keep in mind is you read something like, oh, Forest Shops was on the path of key 7 earlier. What did we buy there? Ponytail twirl. But there's another shop there that we don't have access to yet. For all we know, PTT has nothing to do with it. Now, that being said, we're here in caves, and we have Ponytail twirl.
And this
in order to gain access to these 2 checks.
Correct.
This is just key. What if this is just key 7? What if?
It might be.
What if?
This guy right here.
There's no way.
He might have it.
It would be impossible.
He does not.
There's no way. We were lied to.
Plot thickens.
With
what if coconut shooter is on the path to key 7?
We can fire
so
in
now
spurts.
That key, the sleuthing continues. We got our gumshoe caps on. Now, potentially, that ponytail twirl from Forest Shops, that got us coconut gun. So now it's things locked behind PTT or potentially coconut gun. But regardless, we know coconut shooter is required to beat the seed because that was a Way of the Horde item.
It is as straightforward as it possibly gets. You have to have that move in order to do something, which is honestly why having a lot of Way of the Horde hints is actually like kind of nice. A lot of people really like, man, I really wish I had like more path hints or something like that. Way of the Hordes are great because Way of the Hordes are just, you need this thing. It doesn't matter. There's no like extra thinking that it has to go into it. Now, what check it's talking about, I'm gonna have to deduce. But I know I need that regardless. Now, what I am gonna do, I'm gonna do something here. So, we're gonna do a little sneaky sneak here. One of the things that you've probably noticed as I've been playing is I've been picking up these colored bananas, and at what seems like, if you're not, whatever, might seem at random points, I'm getting checks. So what's actually happening is I am getting that Kong's banana medal. So again, talking about the vanilla game, in the vanilla game, when you obtain 75 of those little colored bananas, in which there are 100 for every single Kong in each level, you get their banana medal. Banana medal is just another collectible in the game. But the banana medals are randomized in this game. They are just random objects. They're random things you can find. So that means that the banana medal checks themselves, getting the banana medal and whatever threshold it might be, is something that you need to be checking every once in a while. For these settings, the number has been set to 45, so you do not need 75. If you needed 75, that would be
terrible check.
That would be terrible. But yeah, so if you ever see me kind of like get a bunch of colored bananas and then I sort of randomly stop, it's because I've gotten to 45, I've seen whatever that check is, maybe it was something, maybe it was nothing, who knows, and then we move on. So, man, Chunky is broke.
Jeez. Some of you out there may be wondering, how did you get to 45? How was 45 decided upon? And the answer is a lot of trial and error and failed seeds.
That's it.
A lot.
Yep, just
so many.
Just a lot of trial and error. It was really people messed with it. There was actually some people, and then this was obviously way back when, probably before even season 2 started, where a lot of people were thinking like, maybe do we just turn these checks off or something like that? But obviously, it's kind of a ooh, nice pineapple launcher. It's kind of a fun little. That means we can go get Donkey.
Pineapple's really good.
Yeah, it's kind of just, I don't know. It's part of the rando. It's part of the routing process. Honestly, routing small bananas is one of the more, I want to say, like, rewarding elements of the routing in this game.
Yeah.
Being able to do this effectively and tie it in with other checks as you do them is really rewarding. It's kind of one of those things where, we're submitting this for like a speed running event. It's kind of one of those things where you practice a strat for a really long time and then you kind of just like nail it. Routing a bunch of stuff together with your colored bananas to where it just feels good, I don't know, it's just like a very satisfying thing to do. And it was eventually it was just decided on, hey, let's keep it.
It's also really hard.
It's very hard, yes.
This is one of the skill ceiling on routing your colored bananas is insane. How do you route in your colored bananas with the context of everything you have? What moves do you have? What hints do you have? Where do you want to go with those hints?
I'm gonna do this.
It's madness.
I'm gonna do this.
Not getting too many. The amount of times, especially early on, and I still do it, you'll go through seeds and you'll say, oh, I got this banana medal super early on, and then I ended up passing 15, 20 other bananas with this Kong later on that would have been more optimal. But also, how many do I possibly need? Because there also gets you, as you saw earlier, into boss doors. So there's sometimes where like, do I want to get a few extra in case I have to do a boss or not? There's a million little factors. The more you dive into this, I remember thinking DK64 randomizer wasn't going to have a ton to it. I was so wrong.
Oh my
This is one of my favorite randomizers on the planet, and I've only played randomizers for like 5 years. That's all I've done.
It's really insane how every single, like, seemingly like every like couple weeks, month or two, there's just new stuff. There's just new things that have been included. There's obviously a kind of a working dev version of the randomizer that you think that some stuff's trial and error here. There's a lot of crazy stuff over there. Holy moly.
Oh boy.
But yeah, there's just constantly, like, people are coming up with new ideas, new ways to play the game. It's just, honestly, we've talked about it before. This community is so creative. They're so fun. There's just always new things to do. The Discord's always popping off with oh man, look at this new thing I found. Here's this crazy idea I came up with for a fun.
I cannot exaggerate that daily people will roll into the Discord and say, I have found the worst seed of all time. Consistently. Without fail, people present themselves with the spoiler log as like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. It was just the most insane seed I've ever seen in my life. And this is daily.
Daily.
These crazy seeds coming in. Something insane happens in every single seed. So stay tuned. What insane thing is going to happen here? Who knows?
Who knows?
One thing we do know about this level that we're in, we have a couple different pieces of information, but the big one is we want our boy Lanky Kong.
Yes.
And he is, the hint we had from earlier is he is in this level locked by Diddy Kong. So we haven't checked a lot of the Diddy specific checks. We got his banana medal, I believe, all red. Nope, we didn't.
I'm about
so
to.
There's that. There's the igloo check, a couple of checks over in the cabins. I believe there's only one of his checks that we cannot get. Otherwise, yeah, we're figuring out. Very cool piece of slide tech right there, where Tiny can just do her kick slides. And I don't often like to say this sort of thing. That's actually a relatively trivial trick that anybody can learn when you get into running DK64 randomizer.
On that slope specifically, yes. There are some that it is...
There's some slopes that are toxic.
Yeah, there are some that are really, really hard. But that slope, virtually anybody can do that. If once you learn, hey, we found our boy. We found him.
Hey.
All right.
That's 4 out of 5 Kongs, and we know where the 5th one is.
We can actually go get Donkey now. Actually, I'm gonna do a little.
Have Vin Diesel
We can have Vin Diesel %. That is true. I'm gonna be a little thorough here and check some more stuff. Because believe it or not, having to get 64 GBs, we're not even a third. We're barely a third of the way there.
Yeah.
So
there's 201 in the game. You got to clear like over a quarter of the game to
that's
get there.
correct. Yes.
You just got to do stuff.
Yep. Got to do
and you
stuff.
got to pick and choose. This comes into the routing too, where it's like, okay, so what GBs do I go for? I'm gonna enter a Tiny's igloo that has 2 checks. This is just great density.
Correct. Yeah, this has 2 things in it.
It's an aspect of routing that I think really balances this randomizer that otherwise it'd be a little too much just, well, you gotta find like 5 things, maybe, especially here with like, on the GDQ stage, potentially. How do you make an estimate for something where I have to find 5 things out of 400, as opposed to, there's gonna be a certain amount of progress and just content that I have to clear to possibly beat the seed.
Right.
This is
So it puts a nice minimum on it.
It's a little peek behind the curtain on settings design is that you can think of like the Helm B-Locker 64 GBs. That's like your floor of the seed. You need 64 of an item. You can't go any faster than that. You have to get to 64. There's no way around it. More hints. I love hints.
That was actually a nice little pack of stuff we got there. Mostly GBs, to be totally honest, because I was a little short on those, so that's okay. Galleon Shops, 6 and 8. And Galleon Shops, what did we buy in Galleon? Oh, we bought Monkey Port. Perfect. That fulfills the Key 8 obligation, obviously, because we know we need that. Forest Metals. All right, so the very first K rule hint we have is Donkey. And it is...
Okay.
It was getting Baboon Blast there on...
This is a bit of a blessing and a curse here because, well, it doesn't, it's not super great info. You already have the item. It does mean we already have the item, so now we know that is Blast on the path to Key 8. It can't be anything else.
Yeah,
Correct.
and again, in your sleuthing, what that means is you can both get positive information and negative information off of that. So we know that, okay, we got Baboon Blast off of Forest Metals for Donkey Kong in order to do that phase. We know Donkey is one of the 3 phases of the K. Rool fight at the end. And we know that Baboon Blast is only otherwise leading to Key 8.
Right.
To something we need for Key 8. It could be vines. It could be locking bongos for Donkey. It could be rocket barrel boost for Diddy. It could be any of them. But it can't be leading to any of the other keys and whatnot.
That's kind of one of the, yeah, exactly. Like the negative information part of this game and this randomizer, again, at a competitive level is really sort of the thing that kind of separates the top players from the people that are just not as experienced, right? And having that knowledge, just looking at you know, a series of hints being like, okay, what does all of this information I have eliminate as far as where things cannot be? That's just as powerful of information as like, oh, I know where so-and-so, you know, I know what keys are here. I know what shops to avoid. I know what foolish regions there are. Things. We haven't even gotten a foolish hint yet. Now that I think about it, I'm looking over here. I'm like, wow, we have not gotten a single foolish hint yet.
Oh, yeah.
So, there we go. We have our full family. Let's check what's at the top of the beanstalk there. That was just a GB. We have what is known...
Out of the beanstalk.
I know, right? We have what is known in the community as Vin Diesel percent. Why is it called Vin Diesel percent? Because family is everything. That's why. That's the reason why we go with that. So I'm just checking a couple of the overworld checks here. Just looking for some more GBs, things like that. Again, this would be a nice little quick little set of donations here that we could do. And in the meantime, we're gonna kind of go back, and now that I have Donkey, there are those 2 shops that I saw that have Donkey vials in them. Now, the fact that we have Donkey, I hope you guys are comfortable with listening to Donkey grunt, because if I am not swimming or jumping, this is how we're going to get around for the rest of the scene. Donkey is by far the fastest movement Kong, like just straight up moving on the ground. He is the fastest, and it's really not even close.
This is the bit where we would have Tudos visually demonstrate. He'll be in a Donkey Kong outfit and
he'll roll in the background behind me. Yeah. On the ground, if you look over my shoulder, you'll see him. Now, what shop was it? I think it was Funky.
It was Funky.
Funky. Yeah. Real quick, let's clear out this shop. Let's buy this GB, and now that I'm not poor with with Chunky, we can buy this. That's another thing. Again, there's just so much to micromanage in this randomizer at a high level. Your money, the coins you have when you buy things, the choice to purchase things out of a shop could potentially add a decent amount of time to your seed if you don't do it at the optimal time. So if I, for example, if there was a GB in this shop right here, the one I just bought with Chunky, and it was 6 coins, and I only had 10 with Chunky, and I just sort of haphazardly bought it, all of a sudden, if I go into another level and I see a Chunky vial that requires 9 coins, now I have to search, okay, I gotta go find some Chunky coins, I have to hope that I can find a rainbow coin, things like that. There's just so much to micromanage, so many things to be thinking about all the time. It's truly like one of the things I love about this randomizer the most, that at a super high level, there is just constant, that's a really good thing to find. There's just so much that you're constantly having to like balance and think about and focus on. It's just a very, very fun routing exercise for the most part. So we got Primate Punch there. Spike, do you want to talk about why that's one of the best moves in the game?
There's just a ton of checks locked behind it. It's like, every Kong has their move. This is the move that just unlocks a big chunk of the game. Primate Punch is up there with stuff like the King is Mini Monkey for Tiny. But after that, I would say Rocket Barrel Boost and Primate Punch are the next 2 in terms of there's just so many things you cannot do, including stuff for Kongs that aren't even chunky, that are locked behind Primate Punch. So yeah, definitely his bread and butter move.
I hate to say it. I hate to say y'all are sleeping on Peanuts. Peanuts is outrageously good in these settings because Peanuts locks the entirety of the shipyard.
Yeah, which is a big area.
And we started with it, which is awesome. We love to see that.
Very cool.
Coconut, similar boat. Coconut is just an excellent move to have all around.
It does.
There's so many good moves.
It does fire and spurts.
Fun is really good. Fires and spurts. And
now, if you want to know about the worst moves in the game,
all of Lanky's moves.
Most of Lanky's moves.
All of Lanky's moves.
We only have found Grape, his Grape Shooter, and that's okay.
Grape Shooters.
Most of the rest. A Ring Stand is awful.
Yeah.
A Ring Stand, we mostly have ways to get around it. Baboon Balloon does barely anything. Sprint's got like 2 checks. Probably
Tiny
only
trombone
joined down
again.
there by stuff like Gorilla Grab by Donkey Kong. That doesn't do a ton in these. Although it does lock the DK arcade, so we'll see.
True.
We'll see.
Again, cleaning up some of these GBs that I left behind, because again, we don't know how high these B lockers for these other levels are going to go. I know I need 64. That is just the floor, like Larock said, that is the floor that I'm going to need. So I'm kind of just going around, clearing out some stuff again, a perfect time for some donations if we had any. But right now, I am going to be buying that last move with Donkey. Hopefully I have, actually, no, just to make sure I have enough coins for it, I'm going to come over here and grab these just in case. Now, if this move ends up being 8 coins, that's gonna be one of those things that I like to call, ooh, funny. So here, let's grab this, and please don't be 8. It was, I needed them. I needed those coins. See what I was saying? You have to constantly be thinking about, dude, now, we may not need that move, but still, I would have not been able to buy that move, and all of you would have laughed at me. So. Ooh, I can't buy that, though.
There's a little bit of flavor text in the shopkeeper to, like, give you a little hint on what you're about to buy. So, like, you can actually read the text and be like, I wonder what this is. Funky would have told you it was a special move if you were broke. If you have the money, he actually gives you, like, even more of, like, a little, a pitch, a salesman's pitch on what the item is. It's kind of funny. There's a lot of love baked into this randomizer.
All right, so let's get into some of this sleuthing that we have, right? Let's do a little bit of sleuthing. So, what do we know about Key 4? Key 4 is the next big thing that we're trying to find, correct? So, what do I know about Key 4? I know that Saxophone is on the path to Key 4, and I also know that either Grape or Punch is locking Key 4. Now, there are a couple things that line up with all of that, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at, right? What things line up with all of those moves? One of the things that lines up is back here, the anthill check. So the anthill actually has 2 checks in it. Normally there is a GB, and there is, we haven't even talked about it yet. The bean is normally in here. Both of these checks are randomized, so I'm gonna get a little 2-for-1 here. So this is definitely the level where I'm going to be probably spending the most time looking for Key 4, just because there's also a decent amount of stuff that is that's locked behind Mini Monkey, or not Mini Monkey, locked behind Saxophone and potentially Punch, because Punch just locks a lot of moves. So we might be having to go back and double check some punch lock things. But for right now, we're gonna jump in this barrel. We're gonna go inside the anthill. And yeah, go inside here. We're gonna actually play the saxophone twice. We're gonna play the saxophone. Oh, I'm not gonna accidentally get out of Mini Monkey.
Who would do that?
Yeah, hit the wrong button there. I would not do that. We're actually going to be playing the saxophone twice, and the reason for that is because I'm about to go into this this little anthill, and there's gonna be a lot of random enemies in here, and some of them I might not be able to kill in conventional means. Like, there might be like robots, there might be I think they're called clumps, the big orange guys, and I don't have oranges to defeat them, so I'm actually gonna get double usage out of saxophone here. So we're gonna drop down here. As you can see, yeah, these guys and that guy right there, we haven't even discussed what that guy is yet.
Only gotten glimpses of the cops.
We've only gotten little glimpses of the cops. But let's make sure he doesn't. Oh, I almost beefed it. Okay. Oh, I almost beefed it. Okay, but as you can see, my detective work was successful. We have found Key 4. So
Very nicely done.
There is the first little bit of, okay, what are these hints refer? Now, here's the one thing, again, the negative information that we are obtaining, right? So, Grape Shooter and Saxophone both led to Key 4. Now, that doesn't mean I don't need Punch, right? There's a chance I still need Punch. I don't know what for yet, but it's kind of one of those things to keep in your mind of like, all right, I did get Punch there. It's worth remembering that you found, oh, why did the camera do that? Oh, I'm gonna miss the thing, aren't I? Okay, we're gonna get
That's
this.
classic DK64 right there. The
Classic
camera will
DK64.
just sometimes just decide, no, you're taking a dive.
Yeah,
See ya.
but yeah, basically the point I was trying to say is just keeping that in mind is worth it, because Punch, like Spike said, is a very, very strong move. The camera freaked out there again. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to do another cute little sequence break here. PTT is, you can kind of cheat a lot of things with PTT, as you can clearly see. This dirt patch, to note, this is the classic roof dirt.
Roof dirt.
Roof dirt. That check, logically, is locked behind like 17 moves.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy how many moves that move is.
We don't have any of them.
We don't have. We have
that
like
was ridiculously illogical.
Oh yeah, we don't have. Do we have any of them? We have barrel throwing. We have barrels. That is it. That's the only thing we have.
All right, let's break out the laundry list of what do you need to get that check. You need, let's see, you need barrel throwing, trombone, rocket barrel.
Yeah.
And then also key 4.
And key 4, yes.
And lanky and chunky.
Yep. You need 3 Kongs, a bunch of instruments, rocket barrel, the key, and you just need like the ability to get up there, right? Like, just
believe it or not, that's not the most locked check in the game.
That is not the most locked check in the game, correct? Actually, you know what? What is the most locked check in the game? I feel like I probably should know this, but I don't know this. And again, obviously because of like different settings make certain things.
I have a guess.
It does depend on the settings for sure. I do too.
My assumption would be it is Beetle Racing and Aztec.
I think it is under normal circumstances. I want to say it's the Check of Legends.
I think it's the Check of Legends.
Oh, that's true.
The Check of Legends, aptly named because it requires every gun and every Kong.
Correct.
And sometimes more.
Sometimes more. In our situation, it would not be more because it's only level 1. So. So
let's review here. We just got to level 5 factory. Say, what information do we have about factory? The big one is we know as we're passing by, inside this room for Donkey Kong, this is a way of the hero. What's in here, we don't know. We do know that logically we're not supposed to be able to do it. You need strong Kong so Donkey can be invincible. However, with more awesome movement tech, with generally either Diddy or Tiny, we're able to damage boost our way through, and we see a green vial over there. There's only one green vial left.
It's gotta be Hunky.
Is this gonna be a stealth at the end? Chunky's gonna be part of K-Rool? Only time will tell.
Now, we do know that the apple is required. We read that earlier, so hopefully that is the extent of why we need Hunky, because Hunky's one of those moves that a lot of crappy checks are locked behind Hunky Chunky. So let's hope that that is the only reason we need it.
Right, can you edit me giving like a side eye in here, just like he doesn't know?
I can just edit in a little side eye. Well, we can do that. We can do that in post. We can do that. We can definitely do that in post before I upload this. After I forget where I'm going and it takes me 3 hours to beat the scene. Yeah, we'll do that in post.
Right.
Yeah, totally. But yeah,
and the other thing, oh yeah, no, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the only thing that I now have to keep in the back of my mind is, one of these Way of the Hordes that I currently have unfulfilled could very well be talking about Strong Kong, and at this point now I want to avoid it because it's just gonna send me down a path to something that I already know the answer to. So again, kind of one of those little meta games you have to play within the randomizer itself of if you do something out of logic, well, you don't want to work backwards in logic, right? You kind of want to stay ahead of the curve there. So we'll see if the seed decides to be a little funny and, you know, give me a Strong Kong in one of those hinted locations. But anyway, Spike, I rudely interrupted.
No, the other thing I was going to say that we know about this level is that the factory shops, by far the key that has been pointed out the most is key 7. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 hints right here. Ooh, a little bit of dancing going on.
That was a little scary.
4 hints pointing at key 7, including the factory shops here. So 3 shops as we go through. We'll see what kind of items we find, and that can kind of help us start to find the path.
So I mentioned earlier that that kick slide strat I did in caves. Yeah, this one's harder.
No big deal.
No big deal though. We're just
You
gonna
made that look so easy.
we're just gonna casually do it.
Clean.
Yeah, clean. That's pretty clean. I'll give that one a solid 9 out of 10. That is.
We put the ballroom clapping in post.
Yeah, we can put that in.
Everyone's
Post.
going crazy. They're standing up. They're going, you know.
Everyone's. Please clap. Please clap for me. I worked so hard to do that.
A crowd of monkeys erupts. Just, oh!
They just appear out of nowhere. It's Tudos again in a monkey suit.
But this time with more people, and there's a flash mob, and it's gonna be a spectacle. It's gonna be a spectacle.
Oh man, it really is. All right, so we have that now.
No,
What?
there's no way. There's
Grab is hinted. Or no, grab is not hinted. Blast is hinted.
Yeah, Blast was hinted. So again, like we said earlier, Blast is, from what we can tell, only on the path of obviously helping Donkey fight K. Rool, but also towards Key 8, which we need a number of more moves in order to get up and collect Key 8.
Oh,
So what?
We've whittled down the number of moves we need for Key 8. At this point, we need the other instrument, bongos. We need Rocket Barrel to reach Diddy's room, and we need vines to cross the lava into Helm Lobby.
I have
So we're still on the
totally.
lookout for all three of those.
I've totally glossed over the fact that we have done this entire scene without vines, and vines are a training move.
Cheeky one. It's a cheeky one.
And vines are one of those interesting things where you wouldn't think that a lot of things are locked behind vines. But there are actually some mini games, some of those bonus barrels that we've been doing every once in a while that are locked behind vines logically. And vines is also a training move, which means it has to be, at least to my knowledge, again, I don't play Season 3 that much, it has to be, like, pretty early on. Also, we're absolutely checking DK Arcade. You got to.
You got
Coins in. Let's have a look.
Gotta check DK Arcade, right? You have to.
definitely one of the most infamous parts of this video game casually.
One of the checks
And he's got a GB.
He's kidnapped a GB.
I will say this, if
The
we
sprite swap is incredible.
if we were on the stage currently for GDQ, I would absolutely try to get this GB. But in the interest of trying to do this, we will skip it today. But if we were doing this in front of a live audience, we're definitely getting that GB for sure. That's a fan favorite. The fan favorite DK Arcade is, you do DK Arcade when you can, but
The arcade is also notoriously long as well.
Yes.
It's a little bit sped up in the randomizer. It's cut down to 2 stages and is much more reasonable in scope rather than playing the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I remember when 1.0 of the randomizer came out. That was one of the things I said is, I think we just in general need to buff a lot of the checks in this game. That's including splitting, just speeding them up. Now, we have got a vial right here that we're about to check out. And we know that Factory Shops is on the path of Key 7. Let's see what this sleuth says towards.
I am
This
wondering...
potentially is it, but there's 2 more shops afterwards.
Yeah. I am currently definitely wondering where bongos are. And one of the big reasons why I'm wondering where bongos are is not just because it's path to, what is this going to be? Oh, haha! That's what we
There
call
it is.
That's what we call funny. Ooh, funny. But yeah, the big reason why I'm really looking for bongos right now is because oh my, there's another thing here. There's another thing here. Of course, why wouldn't there be another thing here? And it's Balloon! Those are the two of the worst moves in the game.
Oh my
So now it
goodness.
gets a little tricky. You've got a path to Key 7 through the factory shops, and it's one of Strong Kong or Balloon. Now, it's
Which
pretty easy.
Strong Kong gave us Hunky Chunky, so effectively 3 moves came from these shops.
And it's known that Strong Kong was needed, right? The Hunky Chunky item is hinted way of the Horde. And we know the Apple Rescue, which needs Hunky Chunky, is hinted way of the Horde. A lot of things are pointing at it's probably Strong Kong, but what if it's not?
Well,
It's not.
Fortunately, I should say, we got some more hints. So again, this would be a wonderful time for some donations as I write all these stuff down. We have a massive hint. All right, so this is going to require some kind of backtracking in our minds, right? So mushroom exterior is path to 4, 7, lanky, and tiny. So we already have key 4. We do not have 7. We need lanky phase and tiny phase. So what did we find in the forest, the outside of forest, the exterior, that big mushroom I climbed? What we found there was Featherbow. We found Featherbow there on the Kasplat, the night door, the guy that normally it requires it to be nighttime, you gotta swing across. We found Featherbow there. Featherbow fulfills the requirement for tiny phase, and it also fulfills the requirement, I believe it fulfills the requirement at least, for, yeah, it does, because that's where Saxophone was, inside the forest lobby. So we know that what that's talking about is specifically Featherbow from that information. Oh, also I want to write down, I almost did not write down the Jape Stormy Tunnel hint. Oh, that's a lot of vials and cabins also. That's
Wow.
That's a lot of vials and cabins. We also have a foolish, ooh, you know what? That is an interesting hint, and I will explain why here in a second. So Galleon Donkey Medal and the story. Wow, a lot of factory is actually kind of foolish. We have another hint. We have 2 more hints here. Main caves for 7. We have so many key 7 hints, my goodness. And then lighthouse for key 8. So the reason why I called out that one hint very specifically, the Galleon Caverns is foolish, but Galleon Caverns has a potion in it. So if I wanted to, if you wanted to kind of, again, go to that like negative information route, I could go to Galleon Caverns, find that vial, and immediately, whatever that move is, I know that that move has nothing. Nothing that I need can be locked behind that move. We could go that route, and I potentially might do that. But we have a whole bunch of information, a whole bunch of stuff that we can now go hunt down. One of them is this Kasplat right here. Oh,
another way of the Horde item we were able to read.
That fire guy. Ooh, he is kicking my butt.
He's got hands.
He's
funny.
He is beating me up. All right, let's get what this is.
Watch out for
That
those
is bongos. Okay, that is like a very, very powerful move to find right now.
I thought the dice guy was going to do a lap around the tower.
I did too.
He was moving. My goodness.
Yeah, he was going pretty quick. Let's see. Am I going to buy both of these? Let's see how much these are. All right. So that's I was just talking about why bongos were a very, very strong move. So that move is going to allow us to kind of go into some of the other areas that we've sort of not left behind, but we just didn't have the ability to get the move out of them. One of them being Caves Cabins, once again, that rotating donkey cabin. And we know Cabins is on the path to Key 7. And we've gotten quite a few things in Caves, as you can see on the tracker below me. Again, like I stated before, this is not the tracker that gets used or will be used if this were to be accepted. The tracker that would be getting used is the one that we used for Verdant's run and Flame Fatales. And if you are watching this, if you are the person watching this submission video, also, first of all, hi. Second of all, if you haven't checked out that run, you should. Verdant was wonderful. She killed it. It was the first time Donk64 had ever been shown at any sort of GDQ event. I think she did a wonderful job showcasing not only these settings, but the community in general. It was wonderful. It was very, very happy to see her get that opportunity. Nintendo Sarah, who's a massive part of our community. She's one of our race mods, one of the mods of the Discord. Also did a wonderful job doing commentary. Definitely check out that run if you haven't already. And I would absolutely love to, not only myself, but get Larock and Spike up there with me as well and showcase this in front of a live audience at a GDQ. Mind you, in a town that I have lived away, I have been living like within a stone's throw of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, basically my entire life. So getting this opportunity to kind of do that sort of like in front of like my unofficial hometown would be super awesome. Again, I've been featured on GDQ hotfix shows. I want to say like 5 times. I've done hotfix a lot for Donk. Specifically, different types of settings. I've raced a couple times. The first time ever was a race against Spike. Don't ask him how that race went. We don't talk about how that race went. I still don't know how I won by that much. Like, I've gone back and watched it, I don't know what happened.
Honestly, yeah, let's take that. Let's do it, instead of a negative on me, a positive on Kuiper is that this man had never played Donkey Kong 64 in his life. And then all of a sudden just saw me doing some of the seeds early on in the 1.0 days and said, ooh, that looks cool. I'm going to do it. Why not? And has become one of probably like the 5 or 10 most talented players in DK64 Randomizer. Just his routing brain for this, it takes a pretty big one. And you do a really good job with it. So heck yeah.
Thank you.
And which would make it even cooler if he got to showcase it on the GDQ stage. One of the best players for sure.
Yeah,
so now we're in that rotating cabinet. Oh, go ahead.
I could think of I don't know, maybe like 32 people that might contest that claim. there is the season 3 tourney that's going on right now. The top 32 bracket is ongoing, and there's some pretty good players.
There are a lot of really good players. I am definitely one of them.
Yeah, it's awesome to see how much the community's been growing.
I'm definitely
Am I one of them? Perhaps.
Yeah, is Larock one of them? Perhaps, possibly, maybe. He just might be.
Still.
Possibly. All right, so let's start whittling down this key 5. I did this earlier with key 4. Do I have? Oh, it's just Galleon medals. Okay, yeah, we can just go do that.
Yeah, and we know Galleon Donkey Kong medal is Way of the Horde. More likely, that's just going to be key 5, but maybe it'll throw a little wrinkle into it.
Yeah, perhaps.
But yeah, for all these other keys, that's the only thing we have pointing that way.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yes.
We're in a bit of a what am
I doing?
An excess of knowledge right now. We've got to we have a bunch of stuff that is hinted and we can do like right now. So it's really a matter of doing a bit of cleanup.
Yeah, you're really at this point you're kind of not overwhelmed, but there's just a lot of things I can go do.
A luxury of choice.
Correct. There's a lot of choice here. But yeah, just getting back to what Spike said. Again, there is the Season 3 tournament going on right now. I, unfortunately, did not qualify for that tournament. There was a lot of conflict as far as, like, my schedule and how much time I was able to commit to the tournament. Again, there are just so many people that are so good at this, and I kind of consider myself like one of the old heads. Every time I join one of those like big races, I'm always kind of like, all right, kids, you got to slow down for the old man, you know? I'm definitely one of those people now where it's just like everyone's got fresh new strats, new ideas. They route things completely differently than I do.
Brother, you're telling me, man. I write code for this thing, and I still sometimes feel like an old head when I end up in those race lobbies and get absolutely smoked. I'm putting up a fight. I'm throwing hands, but they are so fast.
One of the things that I'm absolutely the most proud of, and again, if someone watching can throw their usernames in there so I can give them their proper shout out. Donkey Kong 64, in general, had not been shown at a GDQ in many, many years. And Connor75, who is one of the best, if not the best, any percent runner of this game in the world, got to do it at the previous AGDQ. And a nice double rainbow coin. And during that event, we had a whole bunch of Donk Rando players at the event, watching, hanging out. Again, I live very, very close to the venue, so I was lucky enough to just being able to just go to the event and hang out with everyone, meet a bunch of cool people. And we did a number of races, live races in the practice room during that event. Of people were getting to show up, watch. We had people join the Discord and try out the rando, try out the game. There were 2 people, and again, someone's gonna have to remind me of what their usernames are, because I definitely want to give them a shout out. There were 2 individuals that came up and watched myself and Tudos and Connor and a bunch of other people, Etiquette was there, play this randomizer, who had never played the randomizer before. I want to say less than 2 months, 3 months later, we hosted a Blitz tournament, which is like a 1-week tournament. It's super, super quick. You do all of your races in 1 week. And I think, if not both, one of those players won that tournament. Won it. Like, forget
straight up.
Forget took part. They won. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. It truly was just awesome. I to say I was like proud might be like an understatement. Just the idea that someone in a short period of time just walking up at a GDQ event being like, hey, this looks really fun, what is it? And they just jump right in, and within 3 months they are winning tournaments against people that have been playing for months and months and months. Just really, really impressive. Some of the coolest stuff that I've seen. So definitely want to give them a shout out.
It is a humbling community, that's for sure.
Yes.
Because every so often I just encounter just absolutely insane seeds, and I'm like, man, I've been here. I've seen this. I had a hand in this. It's like insane. Like I can't believe some of my code generated a hint that's this unhinged.
Yeah, you're just like, man, I made this, and I'm upset that I made this. This is terrible.
How did this happen? Why did I do this to myself?
Why did I do this to somebody else, you know?
Oh, jeez. I do have to sleep with that burden. That's a rough one.
Oh, you're fine. I know you. Hey, we found key 5. Okay, cool.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
That was the straightforward we were expecting.
That was the very straightforward one, yes.
He just hit me with a you know me. You called me out. Yeah, you called my bluff. All right. You got me. I enjoy it. All right, fair enough.
Now.
So what else we got there in the lighthouse area was sniper scope.
Yeah.
It marks maybe 4 checks in this entire game. And
4, yes.
we found it in the lighthouse area. There are more checks there.
There's a few more lighthouse checks. So the options are for our hint, we have a lighthouse hint to key 8. It could be sniper, or it could be another lighthouse check. We haven't full cleared our hinted region yet.
Correct.
Always a great idea.
Ooh,
what
okay.
do we do with sniper?
We do have castle first, so that means that there is another move that I am going to be having to find this scene. Well, maybe not. No, well, it might not potentially. We'll see.
What are you looking for?
I was gonna say the stump. I had the stump and the hive confused. As far as which one I was gonna need. Oh, I get to show off another very cool unintentional thing. So we talked about how worthless a lot of Lanky's moves are. Yeah, so there is a dirt patch and a barrel up there that normally requires you to use Baboon Balloon, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna do this and combine that with a tiny kick slide, and we're just gonna get up here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Lanky, unfortunately for Lanky, a lot of his moves just end up being kind of useless. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of unfortunate for our boy, but hey, you know. Now, I will say, again, we're talking about negative information. I know Sniper's not talking about the check in there. And the reason for that is because of that Baboon Blast thing. Well, actually, no, it could be. It could be because it's key 8 it's talking about. I'm going to hedge my bets and say that maybe it's talking about something down here.
Is Coconut hinted?
Question mark? Coconut is hinted, yes, but I'm gonna do this down here first. And then that might be kind of our not desperation play. I don't want to call it a desperation play, but I would like for that to not be what it's talking about, but we will see.
We've arrived at what I like to think of as the end game.
Yes.
Is that we have almost 64 GBs. We have all our hints. We stopped getting hints at 50 GBs. And now it's time to solve the seed. It's winning time. How do you take all the information and synthesize it into a path to victory? It's very difficult.
This is why I want to check this first, because that slam is hinted. Okay, that is not it. Okay, that's the reason why I wanted to check that first. So, and not there. So we know Castle Underground is path to key 6. So we're gonna...
The tricky bit is that Castle Underground is only on the path to key 6, which makes it more likely to be the endpoint of the path, right? If it's on the path to only the key, it could just be the key in the Castle Underground. But which check? We have some other options on key 6, which is... let's see. Did we get anything out of the Galleon shops? I think we only got Monkey Port there.
Yeah, that's only Monkey Port, and we know that Creme Isle.
Monkey Port got us the guitar on Creme Isle, so guitar is looking pretty likely for key 6 somehow. And then Castle Underground. But there's no overlap between guitar and Castle Underground, which is a little bit odd. So it's possible that we find something in the Castle Underground that combines with guitar. Could be a rocket barrel. Well, no, not rocket barrel. Could be a charge combined somehow. Charge does combine in one way.
Okay. Gonna peek that over there. By the way, so we haven't even drawn attention to the fact that, so all of these bonus barrels you're seeing that have what, like, their contents actually on them, that was Spike's idea. That was Spike's idea. Straight up. That was
Chat. It was a popular thing that, again, came from Zelda Ocarina of Time Randomizer, where they started doing, like, chest visuals matches content. So it was a way to speed up seeds. If it's a big, shiny chest, it probably has something good in it. If it's just a little tiny chest, it had nothing important. Rupees, a heart piece, something. Same sort of deal here. You can just look at it and see, that's got a banana in it, or that's got a watermelon piece in it, or it's got a vial, it's got a move in it. So it helps to severely speed up seeds where, you know, we all of a sudden don't have to jump into every single minigame barrel to figure out what that is.
You can see the DNA of other randomizers creep into this one. A lot of the good ideas are often good ideas in other randomizers as well. You can kind of look at the tracker that we have on this video, which it can support things like a points hint system, something that tells you like, oh, there's just like this much, you know, quote unquote points worth of stuff in each level. Support something like that. That's borrowed from other randomizers. The hint system, the multipath hint system, this one was a revelation while watching Kingdom Hearts 2. Direct inspiration from there. I saw their hint system and I was like, oh, that's really cool. How do I make that work?
Ooh, guy, I love it. I love it, dude.
It all comes together. It really does. Randomizers build other randomizers better. They're so cool. That's another great.
I also like how Kuiper took a chance there to further dunk on Lanky. Supposed to have sprint right there. And that really goes to showcase, like Kuiper was saying earlier, Donkey is so fast on the ground. He's able to do what Lanky would normally need a range stand sprint for.
That is true. Now we are getting kind of close. So one of the cool things about these hints is because these regions of these levels are broken up into sort of like, I don't want to call them like sections, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Like we're in Castle Underground right now, right? All of the checks we're doing are in the underground portion of Castle. Because we have that specific wording of this hint, you know what checks to be prioritizing early on. Now, we're kind of getting a little close to the end of the checks that I can do in this region. So it's a little concerning.
Yeah, we are currently down to, there are only 3 checks left in the underground. There was a trombone lock check from Lanky earlier, so Trombone could have its revenge. Lanky could have its revenge. We've got one that is locked by Chimpy Charge for Diddy, which we also do not have. And we've got this right here. We have all the moves. Can they potentially come together to create a key 6? I'm going to say no.
Wow.
But could be something else.
Wow. He doubts me.
Well, because this is Coconut Gun locked.
Well, yeah. But hey,
and we haven't found a way for guitar to fit in. So we're haters. You can call us haters. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
The haters win.
All right. So it is either Chimpy Charge or Trombone Lock, which Kuiper can also deduce which one of those two it is based on these hints.
I do want to, again, very quickly, I want to cover our bases because, again, that sniper that we got back in Galleon is one of the more interesting moves in the game because you get sniper. Funny enough, you get sniper in the vanilla game in this level here in Creepy Castle. So that means that the only sniper locked checks in the game all kind of just exist in this level. So getting a hinted sniper is kind of like, well, go to castle and check the castle locked things. So we're gonna be a little thorough here. Again, this would be another great time for donations. I'm just doing a quick little blast course, trying not to miss any of these stars. Now there are 3 checks in here. One of them is hard locked behind sniper, and we can do a little bit of a cheaty little thing here to do that. Let's check this real quick. I'm actually kind of hoping that this might be something so I can show off how you can just get around the need for sniper. Never mind. Never mind.
See, never plays nice, does it?
No, it never does. It never does. All right, let's just check these real quick. Again, this guy here, now this little Kasplat here does not require sniper. We'll just
require
kind of
coconut though.
yeah, just blow him out of the way. Now, there is a fairy down here, and there is also a check down here. So the check is locked behind not Featherbow, behind Sniper. The fairy is not, and there is no fairy. So before I can do this, I can actually just come over here and peek. That is not it either. Okay.
Ooh.
All right. Well,
The
the plot still thickens. Okay.
Still more to do though.
Still more to do.
No
we
shortage
have
no shortage of ideas.
yeah, we have japes we can do. And japes is another level that has some hinted stuff. We have a straight up like go do the stump. Like that is just that is just straight up like, oh, that is what we call funny.
Requires 55, have 55.
That is what we call funny. All right.
That's a classic.
How many blue? Okay, we have
plenty. I have plenty.
For all the vetting you can do of a seed, somebody will walk up to a B-Locker one short.
Oh.
No matter what.
Oh, like
it's impossible.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Again, keep in mind, they will go, like, level 1 has to be cheaper than level 2, level 2 has to be cheaper than level 3, so on and so forth, or at least, like, same or equal as it goes up. Level 6 castle was, like, 22 golden bananas.
Yeah.
Be in there for free. Here, 55 on the next level.
It's a big hike, yeah.
Now to know,
They might wonder, well, why didn't Kuiper just dump everything right there? It's because that costs animation time. There's a chance with all the moves we still need to find, we might just get GBs that fall on top of our face. And we don't have to go through all these extra animations with Snide. You have to always factor in when are you overextending or you need to speed up your golden banana allocation throughout the course of a run based on what moves you have. Sometimes you get in go mode and you need 30 more GBs. Sometimes you get to 64 and you still need to find 4 moves. And you think back to all the slower, maybe like mini game barrels and stuff you didn't say, what am I doing? I'm stupid.
I think that quite a bit when I play this.
Of the remaining stuff, we need 2 moves and 2 keys.
Correct.
Yep.
At minimum. Again, we do not know if well, that's an interesting one. So that is that is likely. In fact, I think I might know what that has to be.
What do you think it is?
I think it has to be oranges, doesn't it? Well, I guess it doesn't have to be. It could be one of those like fake files. So
There's some junky junks.
yeah, there's some junk that I could potentially find.
Junk, if anyone wondering, it's generally the stuff that like Candy and Funky will give you for like, you get an extra piece of health, a 3rd melon, or you could get like more ammo belts, stuff like that. So here we are. We've known about this since 5 seconds into the seed. What is in the James Tiny Stump?
It is going to be, well, this could be one of our go mode moves.
It pretty much has to be.
Kinda had to be, okay. Because of, again, the hint we got earlier, that super powerful one that stated that the feather bow led us to a whole bunch of stuff. That is something we need for Lanky Phase. So the feather bow hint continues to be kind of like the strongest hint that we've found so far. It has led us to the most, actually, you know what, real quick. I want to do this. Chunky, pick up a boulder with relative ease and get a GB out of it. Okay, there we go.
Let's go.
Thank you, Chunky. Thank you. Very cool, Chunky.
Yeah, thank you, Chunky. I didn't want to, like, not give him the opportunity to pick up a boulder with relative ease. So...
It's kind of his thing.
Yeah, that'd be... Oh! That is funny! Okay!
Oh, we need that, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly need that.
Some people might be thinking, oh, okay, that's just a little cage right there. The problem with that cage is because the way the progression of your, as we call them in the community, I'm just going to call them butt slams, work, is there are 3 levels of them. You start off with your base one, you can hit all green switches. As you go along in the game normally, there will slowly become blue switches that you need a second power of butt slam for, or red switches that you need all 3 of them for. We have only found a second one. It was Way of the Horde, we saw that earlier. And we're going to need the other one because the only place in the entire game where red switches will appear is whatever your level 7 is, which in this seed is Jungle Japes, where we are right now. Oh, we knew that, yeah.
Yep.
We did, in fact, know that. Now, one thing that did give me the ability to do is it gave me the ability to go back to Castle Underground very quickly and do another Castle Underground check.
Yeah, sure about that.
Yes.
What do your hints say?
Well, wait a minute. I mean, I'm gonna potentially, because the guitar got me in the thing with the stuff in the things, and then trombone.
Right, Feather got you trombone, right? Feather was on the path to Lanky K. Rool, but Feather is not on the path to Key 8.
It's on path Key 7.
It is on the path to Key. It is on the path to Key 7, though.
Not Key 6, though.
Not Key 6. No, Key 7.
And, well, if you're looking for Underground, Underground is on the path to Key 6.
Oh, well, I guess it could be. It could be talking about. You know, we're just gonna check it. You know, this would be a great.
Yeah, we're already here. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
This would be a great time. This would be a great time for some donations.
Have to have a look. Let's take a look just in case.
Yeah, this would be a great time for some donations. Another thing that is probably worth doing because Sniper is coming up kind of dry for us is to go back to the Galleon Lighthouse, potentially, and see if there's something else there that we potentially could get. Now, I doubt that Galleon Lighthouse is going to give me anything. I still need vines, but vines have to be in levels 1 to 3.
Galleon is level 3.
Yeah. It is still...
And vines are only on the path to Key 8, as far as we can tell.
It's true. Once again, poor Lanky just getting absolutely owned by us having PTT.
Yeah. So we know exactly where this thing that leads to Key 6 is.
Yes.
It is Chimpy Charge locked in the Castle Underground. That's the only check left down there. So we got to find Chimpy Charge. So probably one of these other things, maybe potentially Guitar is locking Chimpy Charge. We're not sure.
We do not know yet. Now we do know that the apple is something. I have yet to go back and do that. Because of that pesky little vine swinging that we need to find, I think I want to do this just to get it out of the way. And there is also to note, there's only 2 checks left over here. And one of them I can't do. And the reason I can't do it is because I don't have a pearl.
Ooh.
So we need a pearl potentially.
We potentially
Find out.
So pearls to note, chat,
Oh my God.
are well, yeah, and people watching, whoever's watching. You normally need all 5 pearls for a single check in Galleon from the Mermaid. We have it set where you only need to find 1 of them, but they're very ambiguous. The 5 of them could be anywhere in the seed. You need to find any one. It's kind of rare to get this deep in a seed, and we have not. I was say, LaRock, you haven't seen one either, right? I don't remember seeing one.
I've seen one.
Oh, you saw. I don't remember where it was.
It's a tricky one. It's tough to remember, but you have seen one.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I forget what I came in here for. What did I come in here for? The
apple.
The apple.
Worm.
Yeah.
The worm. Give him the business.
Holy smokes. I walked in here and my brain, I was listening to what Spike and LaRock were talking about, and I was like, oh, I'm just, casually walking into forest,
We're doing all right.
thinking about
Would
how...
it help you if I told you that you saw a pearl within the first 20 seconds of the seed?
I did.
Sure did.
I did. Okay.
You sure did.
I definitely did.
Okay.
Okay, that's really funny. What's even
The
funnier
seed
is
goes
that...
full circle.
Oh, this is gonna be super duper. Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We have some stuff we can do now. All right. It's in this. It's in here.
It's in here.
It's in here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So funny enough, once again, the theming of this seed and the theming of this rando, this submission video in general, is poor Lanky, man. Poor Lanky.
Well, he's having a rough day.
Poor Lanky. Because I am once again gonna get something out of logic.
He'll have his hour in K. Rool, but
He will.
until then, nah, forget about it.
I've never seen someone do that for a pearl.
Sometimes.
That's really like, if it's a GB, maybe I'll do it if I've got Donkey Kong. A pearl.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
So if this gives us nothing, then it has to be, then Sniper is locking something for key 7. I think we've determined that all the Sniper lock checks are dead at this point.
Yeah, basically. I would be very, very surprised if it's not just.
There's not much lock by it.
No, I think all the sniper checks are dead because it can't be Lanky Tower.
No.
Yeah.
Cannot be Lanky Tower. And another really important thing is, and Sarah brought it up earlier, there is one extra check that is logically locked behind Sniper. Unfortunately, it is the check. It's the Kasplat inside of the Helm lobby. But we know it can't be that because that lobby only opens when you have key 6 and 7. So
yeah,
we knew immediately that couldn't be what it is. So. All right, we got the mermaid. This is another fan favorite check. It's one of the silliest ones because once again, we need this pearl to have her give us what she has. And I want to say that looks like vine swinging. It is.
Looks like a little vine swinging for us.
Excellent, excellent.
So now we're going over here.
Let's go pick up this key.
We're gonna go pick up this key 7. And then finally, the last thing we are missing, well, we're missing 2 things technically. We are missing key 6, and we are missing rocket barrel is what we are missing.
You have an unresolved key 8 hint as well.
Yeah, that is true, I do. Now it was the Diddy? It was the Diddy cage, yes. I think it was the Diddy cage. Was it the Diddy cage? Yeah, it was the Diddy cage.
It was the Diddy cage.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure it was the Diddy cage.
Correctamundo.
Correct?
Yeah. Is it the Diddy cage?
But remembering something an hour and a half ago is tough. But remembering something like 20 minutes ago, that's even tougher.
That is, I am absolutely guilty of like looking at something and then being like, oh, I need that. And then like less than a minute later, I'm like, what was I?
Out of sight, out of mind. If I didn't write it down, it's lost to the annals of time. Forget about it.
Because you can see how, like, there is so much information you have to track, while also keep in mind, like, playing a video game semi-quickly. Trying to think about, like, how you want to move around, where do you want to go, what do you want to do, executing everything well. This is a very hard randomizer, actually, to be good at.
I have the luxury of sitting in my comfy chair of wisdom and being able to casually take notes as he flies through the scene and be like, yep, that looks right. Yep, that checks out. And do the number crunching on, like, what checks should he go to next?
Okay. So, the one thing I am trying to figure out here is where Rocket Barrel is. And Rocket Barrel is not the... Well, I guess there's an unresolved key 8 hint, right? It's, what's the unresolved key 8 hint? It's
the Llama Temple.
The Llama Temple, right? I was gonna say I have it in here. I'm like scrolling through the thing. I'm like, oh goodness, where is it? Okay, there it is.
And on top of that, the Llama Temple would also solve your need for Blast.
Yes.
You need Blast to get into the Llama Temple. Blast on the path to key 8. That fits really well.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden you'll see, hey, I can swing across these vines now.
Hey!
We no longer have to rely on Tiny and PTT. So we'll come over here, and this was actually one of the interesting things. This Llama Temple in the early iterations, I'm gonna do this real quick. This is one of those things where you could potentially open or close this. I want to say this guy had I feel like he had a blueprint. I was going to say, if he had a blueprint, then I could just grab the third donkey blueprint and then just dump those 3 blueprints that he got. I think he had a blueprint. Because I would love to just go immediately to like wherever I think key 6 can be after this. Oh, did he have a banana medal? I might have. Oh, yeah, a banana. Okay, well, whatever. We can still actually just get our final 64th thing here anyway. I am currently looking for Rocket Barrel, and there's a chance it's in here. There's also a chance that it could just be Chimpy Charge. It's probably gonna be Chimpy Charge.
Rocket Barrel being our last key 8 item means pretty good odds it's here.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing remaining for key 8.
Let's see here.
If we're looking for something for key 6, we'd be looking for Charge. I think we're gonna find Charge here.
Don't think. Now, funny enough, this is where Lanky normally is. He's down here.
All right. This is his cage.
Yeah, this is that's where Lanky is normally. Right now, it's just empty. Man, I love thinking back to when this rando first came out. We were playing with like very, very few options. And it was very early on in the development stages. Not a lot of the kinks were worked out just yet. And I remember very early on when I was told that, oh, hey, we were going to shuffle the Kong locations, right? That they weren't just going to be in the cages like they normally are. I was so apprehensive about it. I was so like, oh, dude, that's going to be terrible, man. That's going to be so slow. Now we're randomizing like shop locations. We're randomizing like everything. And to think back to that, it's just
the dirt where?
Yeah, like we're shuffling where the dirt is. Like it's just, and I'm just like, yeah, that's great. You know, sign me up. It sounds great.
I'm a big fan of any randomizer community that wants to push the boundaries of like, how goofy can we make this?
Okay.
We see a little vial of red, and we know we need both of the remaining red vials. Yeah.
All right.
Rocket Barrel boost.
So we have all of the key 8 requirements. The thing I am missing is key 6. And the things that we have on the path to key 6 are guitar, and that's kind of where it ends. So
just guitar.
Yeah, I think it's just guitar.
So pick your favorite guitar check.
Pick your favorite guitar check. My favorite guitar check. We're actually talking about what my actual favorite guitar check is. That is exclusive. It has to be exclusively guitar, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't even tie in Rocket Barrel, so you can rule out things like the Mech Fish. You can rule out things like Diddy's Cabins.
Yeah, it's wow. It's actually, that's pretty challenging. The one I will go for, it can't be that one either, will be, there are no guitar checks in Castle either. Holy smokes. Is it gonna be
weird? It's a weirdly specific move for specifically guitar. Usually guitar pairs really well with a bunch of other items. It pairs really well with Rocket Barrel. It can pair really well with Peanuts and some stuff.
Right, yeah. Imagine having to do this on your own. That would be terrible. Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Okay, you're going to the one I was gonna go.
Yeah. It took me a second, and I was like, I think I know what it is.
Yeah, this is like deep cutting into all your knowledge of 400 something checks. Yeah. Which ones are just locked by guitar?
Mm-hmm. Well, this
one by a lot of these other checks that we have found.
This one is not locked just behind guitar because of a very interesting little quirk. I have to lower the water to do this one.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully I get back on there. There we go. Okay, you have to make that cycle or else you look like a loser. But yeah, so the interesting thing, kind of what we were alluding to, the interesting thing about guitar and it just being guitar is a lot of these moves for these Kongs kind of work in conjunction with one another. Very few of them are just checks by themselves. Most of Diddy's guitar lock checks also have something to do with Rocket Barrel. But because we know Rocket Barrel is only on the path to key 8 and not key 6, it kind of, usually most of the time, like you kind of, I like to refer to it as the thinking dance, where you warp back to aisles out of a level and then you just kind of spin in a circle as you think.
And everybody does it.
Everyone does it.
And nobody needs to be told how to do it. It is just like an innate monkey instinct in our brain to just run around for a while we're thinking. It's unbelievable. And it's worth noting that this is not an easy poll to come up with, right? You have a pile of text, and the question is asking you, where is your progression? You have 450-something checks in the game to figure it out. Just untangle your hints. Enjoy. Have fun.
Again,
it all comes back to really the theme of this randomizer is you are a detective. You are a super sleuth.
When you solve it, you're a genius. It feels amazing.
This is all but likely going to be Chimpy Charge, which is going to then lead me back into Castle. Funny enough, this is going to be the only move that we get in Castle. Castle is required for this one thing.
Yep.
And it's a pretty important thing. So I'm gonna come in.
Yeah, otherwise there's always the potential. There's some levels with nothing important. They might have a bunch of like golden bananas or something in it, but we have an excess of those that, yeah, every once in a while you'll get a seed where you just don't need one level.
Right.
And this seed almost had that, but Castle decided to show up. It's a GDQ seed. We gotta go to all the levels.
Gotta show off all of the checks. This is actually one of the funnier checks to have a Kong pop out of. Because if you've never seen this check before, basically what's about to happen is I'm going to open up a crypt, and the coffin lid's gonna open up, and the item's gonna shoot out of the top. So whenever it ends up being a Kong, it literally just looks like you just brought them back to life, like Frankenstein style. And it's very, very funny looking.
He's alive!
Yeah, we're gonna be heading down here again. That is I would consider that to be a rough spot for key 6, because again, while we had all of that information for key 7, and we could kind of like deduce all of those hints, we had like half a dozen hints for key 7. We only had 2 for key 6, and a lot of the times that will happen. Also, give me a good pattern. Nope, not a good pattern.
Worst possible.
Worst possible. That will happen quite a few times in this randomizer, where one of your keys will be giga hinted to you. Like, you have all the information you could possibly want to find one of your keys, and then one key has like a hint to it.
Just thinking about how hinted that key 7 is, it's not really a surprise. You need 2 slams, you need coconut, and that's just for the check itself. On top of that, you have to take into account where the slams are. One of them was on the worm, which is its own slew of checks. Key 6, look at that. 7 keys, off the helm we go.
Now, you'll notice I have 63 GBs. I have more than enough blueprints to dump and get up to 64. That would allow me to get into hell. Every time I play DK64 randomizer and I do these settings, I don't do that because there are 2 checks inside of this lobby right here that could give me my 64th GB, and it would be completely optimal. Now, we have option 1, which is this guy right here. He did not give it to me. Will the bonus barrel give it to me? No, it's a pearl. It's a pearl. Of course it's a pearl. All right.
It's a pearl.
Of course.
Sense of humor sometimes.
That's another one of those things where I like to call it a ooh, funny.
And the mermaid had vines, which is
correct.
Locked by pearls.
Correct. Yes. Correct. That is a pearl locked pearl. Which is it is funny. All right, we got our 64 GB. So now we actually get the true sort of official end game of the seed. Now you're probably wondering, what does the end game involve? So normally you would have to go all the way up through Helm. There's a whole bunch of slopes that require like a rang stand. There's some mini monkey stuff. There's switches, everything like that. Well, Helm, similar to the bosses and a lot of the other animations, has been shortened to where we are going to start in the Track-O-Matic room. I am then going to go over to the Diddy room. I'm going to complete 2 random mini games. I don't know what the mini games are going to be. And then I'm going to complete 2 donkey mini games, and that will defeat Helm. We'll sort of, you know, disable the Blast-O-Matic. DK Isles is safe, and then we can go off and fight K. Rool. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here, jump into this rocket barrel. And we actually didn't even get the opportunity. There are so many other little micro hints that we didn't even get to talk about. There are micro hints that will tell you where Monkey Port is if you walk over the pad and don't have it. There's one for that Gorilla Gone pad you saw me jump onto. All of these instrument pads here in Helm have their own micro hints to where if I didn't have guitar, I could walk over that guitar pad and it will tell me, like, you should go to Forest with Donkey and check some stuff out. And it will kind of give you guide you in the direction of where it might be. There are so many just little things that Larock and the other devs have put in here to really kind of make the end game as sort of truncated as possible, right? If you're in go
insurance policy.
Yeah, it's an insurance policy. Yeah, if you're in go mode, you know, you have ways of just kind of blitzing to the end and getting your opportunity to beat up K. Rool. Again, so we know what our K. Rool phases are going to be. We do not know what order they're going to be in. That is sort of a not necessary. Like, that information at this point is kind of a moot point, but there is a very cute thing that I do want to call out to. I will be stopping and looking at a wall here in a second, which is one of the more, I don't know, just like a cute little thing that the devs put in. If you, for some reason, didn't know what your Kong order was. Also, I'm gonna go.
That's got legs.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for a 2.
Yeah.
I'm also gonna go for a 2-frame cutscene skip here. Let's see if I get it. It's literally 2 frames. I got it. Okay, that's 1.
Nicely done.
Easy every time. Please clap. Please clap.
That is actually
Crap goes wild.
that is actually a 2-frame window that you have to hit to skip that cutscene of watching all of those explode or watching the like laser turn off. It saves a couple seconds. This last one is the big one because this one is the thing shuts down. There's like a big cinematic camera. It shows the door opening. Missing this one, you feel really, really bad. You feel like a loser.
Yeah, I want to say for the other ones, it's like 5 seconds save. I think this one is like 17 seconds you save for hitting it. At least those are the numbers I remember getting thrown out. Another maze.
I thought it was like 6 and 15. I don't know. It.
6
maybe
and
not.
That's pretty close.
6 and 15 sounds about right. That guy dodged me. What a gamer. Look at this guy. Look at this little piece. Oh, he's beating me up.
Dude, he punched back.
He's
guy, throwing hands.
I don't think I want to beat K. Rool anymore. I think I might be the bad guy in this whole situation.
That's the final boss.
Yeah, that dice was the final boss. Holy smokes.
The enemies have their speed values randomized, so they run around really fast. Sometimes it's very funny.
There are some times where it just feels impossible to get away from some of the enemies. And if you play with, there are certain settings you could turn on that are like insta-kill, like one-hit KO and stuff like that. And for one of his events that Spike likes to put on every once in a while, Spike did a seed where they played with Iron Kong. And it was one of the funniest things I've watched because basically what happens is if one of your Kongs dies, they stay dead and you never get them back. So one of the, again, just a very silly, cute, fun thing that you can put on with this randomizer. All right, I'm gonna try to save 15 seconds here.
There's a lot of really dumb ways to die in this game too, so it can just get you out of
We
nowhere.
saved 15 seconds.
Let's go,
baby.
We went 2 for 2.
Easy money.
That one saves. I mean, it's 50 seconds. That's a lot of time.
It feels like more. That's one of those. It's like 15 seconds is not 15 seconds. It actually feels more like 30.
It's like
I just quit.
I
Quit if I miss it.
I compare it to like bonking in Super Mario Odyssey. bonking in Super Mario Odyssey is like a 2-second time loss, but you feel like you are there for an hour. It's just like the most excruciating thing to miss. And
literally from 60, 80 miles per hour to 0, just bang.
So there you go. In case you didn't know what your Kong order was. Hey, look at that. In case you didn't know what your Kong order was, there it is right there. So we have Key 8. We are heading down into the final boss, King K. Rool. And yeah, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that happens in this fight alone that need explaining. The first one being, Donkey is part of this fight. Up until this most recent version of the randomizer and these current settings, you didn't need any moves to defeat the K. Rool phase, Donkey's phase of K. Rool. Since then, it's been changed to where we need Baboon Blast in order to jump into these barrels. Again, it's just kind of one of those things where it just adds a little bit to the randomizer. Also, Lanky not cooperating, so I'm not going to get the super fast cycle, which is sad. That's okay. We'll do the backups. Oh, I missed my C up input. Okay, now we're just being real losers. But yeah, so Donkey, normally when you play this game, you don't need any moves to beat Donkey. The only thing you need to do is climb up the turnbuckles and jump in the barrel. But for our purposes, we do need Baboon Blast. I don't actually know what happens if you try.
I was gonna ask,
yeah,
what happens?
I don't know what happens if you try. I think you just get stuck and you can't shoot.
The get out gun comes in and just shoots.
Yeah, I don't actually know what happens. That would be kind of an interesting thing to find out. The big one here is the tiny phase. The tiny phase has been shortened exponentially in this, and thank God, because tiny phase is normally a very long, you have to shoot each one of the individual toes 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and 4 times, and normally it kicks you out. Not pun intended, he literally kicks you out of the shoe every single time. So it was a long process. Here we go. We get to see the case. But yeah, we're nearing the end of the seed. I'll give my final thoughts when we are finished, when we get the credits. Do either of you? We'll start with Spike. Spike, do you have any closing thoughts that you want to say about this randomizer?
Yeah, I mean, GDQ has featured a lot of randomizers over the years. I've been a part of a lot of them, between Kingdom Hearts 2, Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, Dragon Warrior, pretty much all the Zeldas at this point. Donkey Kong 64, I think, would be absolutely the next one that should be added to those archives. This is a very hot randomizer. The community has put in a ton of work as players, as routers, as people just coming up with ideas. All of the dev team, LaRock included, putting together how this works. It's extremely fun. I would love people to be able to see not just Kuiper's skill and routing in this, us giving our love and commentary for it, but also just show how fun the community is and how easily you all can get to be a part of this right now at DK64randomizer.com.
Rock?
And I have to shout out the whole dev squad. There's a whole pile of us. Myself, Tudo, the boss man, Top Monkey Scientist, Balam. That guy's an absolute genius.
Balam is mad.
He's the guy.
He's the guy. He's the scientist.
On top of that, a whole slew of crew behind us, between almost Seagull, Sound Defense, Kill Clean, whole crew there. Just a bunch of good guys that we're putting together something really great. Pretty awesome. I've even heard rumors of a GDQ panel, potentially, if things fall into place at the right time.
Oh.
Floated.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
You know, getting a little more into the nitty gritty on how it works, because boy howdy, I can talk about how this works.
Yeah,
I know, because I've done it for 5 hours.
I also want to give a shout outs within those dev teams. Like, I don't know whether, I'm assuming we're going to do this for the actual run if it got into GDQ. Shouts to, this is one of the best music randos in all of randomizing.
Oh my gosh. So good.
It's outrageous.
So good. Anybody, like, there are hundreds upon hundreds of tracks that you can pull from all sorts of different games. If you're listening to the one we're listening to right now, this is a free duel from Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. one of the, depending on who you talk to, most beloved or crappiest or both for a lot of people, PlayStation 1 games of all time. And you're getting to listen to this absolute banger while we just disinfect this dude's toes. Or further infect, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't know exactly what we're doing. Yeah, this is one of those songs that I have in every single one of my seeds. It is always my K Rule Fight song. It is a completely custom song, because if you notice, during the sort of like bridge chorus part, you heard the donk being said. Yeah, a lot of these songs that have been put into this game have custom lyrics that have been put in from the DK rap. I actually requested one be made, the Castle song that you might have heard. That was Pumpkin Hill from Sonic Adventure 2. That song took 3 weeks to make. And the reason why it took 3 weeks is because the person who made it literally cut up the DK rap and made a new song.
See, depending on who you ask, the DK rap is
Coming up on
an instrument.
Time.
Done. The DK rap is actually an instrument in the sound font, which is how it works out. And you can like piece together the notes and do all sorts of wacky stuff with it. It's really silly.
It really is, yeah. It's so versatile. It's actually very, very impressive how people have gotten really creative with it.
Bunch of geniuses in the music.
Yes. So we'll get to see the credits. Funny enough, all 3 of our names are in the credits. LaRock's in the LaRock's in the credits, obviously, for his part on the dev team, and Spike and I are in the credits because we just play a lot. And we've been featured, as I've said, the very first time this ever got shown at AGDQ. It was me and Spike racing. Oh my God, was that like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago? I think it was a year and a half ago at this point. But since then, I've been featured 4 other times, both just by myself. Both of these guys have helped me out doing commentary for those hotfix shows. My final thoughts, both of them, of course, talked about it. Shout out to the dev team. Shout out to DK64 Randomizer, the dev team. Shout out to, I can't believe we went this far without mentioning it. Shout out to DK64Randomizer.com. Where you can get all of the information. So we'll probably say that a lot during the run if this gets in.
I gotta add something. I think we glossed over an enormous amount of cosmetic changes.
We really did.
Those fairies, those were flying fish. We just kind of like hand waved that away because we're just used to the absolute insanity that happens in here.
Yeah, I'm so desensitized to like, you know, seeing flying barrels and flying rocks and just all of the goofy stuff that you get to see. But yeah, shout out to the dev team.
Sometimes you gotta take a step back and be like, what happened here? How did we get to this point?
I don't like thinking about what happened. I'm afraid of what conclusions I might come to if I start thinking about that too much.
No more questions?
No more, but yeah.
I rest my case.
Shout out to the dev team. They are wonderful. Shout out to all of the people that watch this, you know, take part in this randomizer, the community itself, whether you are in the Discord, whether you watch, whether you play, whether you race mod, whether you are just a viewer, you're just someone who really likes this rando, and you watch people like myself, like Spike, like LaRock, like hundreds of other people that play this. Thank you so much to all those wonderful folks. And for you at GDQ, if you are considering putting this into the randomizer, I cannot stress it enough. This community is so wonderful. They are so supportive. You got to see a little bit of it during the Flame Fatales run. I was super proud of Verdant being the first one to ever do this randomizer at a GDQ event in general. Spike and I's names are coming up pretty soon here, by the way. I might be stalling to potentially do that. I don't know. Maybe I am.
We didn't even get to the bean. Unbelievable.
I didn't even get to the bean. Unbelievable. But yes,
I'm gonna go gangbusters for that.
If you are watching this, thank you so much for your consideration. I very much appreciate it. My name is Kuiper Don't Care. You can check me out at twitch.tv/Kuiper Don't Care. There's Spike Vegeta and myself. Hey. You can find Spike at, of course, twitch.tv/Spike Vegeta. You can find LaRock at twitch.tv/LaRock, which is LRAUQ. The Q comes after the U. Because he just, you know, be a little bit
quirky like that.
A little quirky like that. But yes, thank you so much for your consideration. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you at GDQ. I'm going to be there. No matter what, you're going to see me in the crowd. If DK64 doesn't get in, I might cry. I'll cry the entire event. That's a threat. That's not a threat. I'm kidding, of course, obviously. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for your time. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.